You should read your Bible, sirs. You'll find all types of weird shit in there.
Hey, want to have a rousing discussion about truth, honor, patriotism?
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible. Quiet. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
You ever been mindfucked before?
You are fake news.
Me on a mirror.
Let's see what these deep state characters are up to.
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
Evil has won again.
Oh, I was muted. Let me try that again. Yeah, no, that was so good. I love it. That looks fantastic.
Unfortunately, the end part is always very true because as we have seen time and time again, evil always wins because we on the left are so fucking stupid.
I was gonna say
not us on the left, but those in charge of
the institutional party just won't they just want to hold on to their power and fuck the rest of us, right?
This is Gavin Newsom is on Truth Social. So he thinks, oh, well, I'll just talk to the crazies and I'll show I'm the sane one. They'll see that I'm not crazy. They don't care.
No.
They don't care.
No,
Gavin.
they don't care at all. And you can't we want to intellectualize our way out of this. And they're not interested in that. We can't just have a friendly fireside chat and they'll be like, you're right. I don't think the election was stolen anymore.
So laughable. I'm Jason Dutch, the person.
I'm Lindsay.
Which way are you? I guess to my.
I am to your left. I think, unless this is mirrored.
She's to the left of me, which is being pretty fucking left. If you're the left,
I am pretty left.
Yeah.
Probably moderate in Europe, but pretty left for the U.S. and Idaho. So
we were just talking about that the other day. And in fact, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's he's not super political, but he's he said something about election integrity. And I'm I was and like I say, he's not super political. So he's I don't even know how he voted, but he said something he's man, they're all crazy. Both sides. I was well, let's just get one thing straight. I said, and then I stopped myself and I said, no, let me get two things straight. First of all, if Pelosi, for example, was in Europe, she'd be a conservative.
yeah.
Okay.
So would Biden.
Beat around the bush. Absolutely. And secondly, I said, let's not say that they're both crazy. It's one crazy is I want to strip away all your rights and tell you fucking lizards are running the White House.
Yeah.
And that, Jewish people should be all, bad things should happen. And the other crazy is, man, we really should have health care.
Yeah. We should all pay a little bit more to have health care. No, or just we'll forgive part of your student loans, or we're going to become Christo-fascists. I always say, it's the option. It's the choice between would you like to be slapped in the face or shot in the face? They're not the same. Nobody likes either of them, but they're not the same. And pretending they are is disingenuous.
That's a super good way to put it, actually. Leave it to you, the genius of the group.
I just have to explain. I live in Idaho. I have to explain this every goddamn day. It never ends.
I had a guy from my high school graduating class who sent me a message the other day. He was like a week before it was probably a few days before the election. He goes, "Not looking good for you guys." So I texted him back. I go, and like he voted for Biden, right? But he's super like, I literally had to talk him into voting for Biden. Like, right? I was working on this guy for a while, but he's not a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah.
Super good dude, right? Like, but like,
Oh yeah.
but he goes to me, he goes, not looking good for you guys. I text him back. I go, by you guys, do you mean America?
Yeah. The country? Like anybody
like,
who
"No,
wants
for
to live in
Democrats."
anybody who wants to live in a democracy?
It's like,
You people who like democracy, you're kind of fucked right now, huh? I'm not looking good for you.
oh, Jesus, Katie Christopher. So it's been a fucking wild fucking week. Like, I will agree with Carrie Lake on one thing. Arizona needs to fucking get their election shit fucking fixed. She's not wrong when she says that it's embarrassing in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's the only salient point that she's ever made.
Yes. It hasn't been hacked, but it's embarrassing.
Yeah. The hacked part is fake. Like the embarrassed part, because, like, well, you need a modem. You need to be connected to the internet to hack it, Carrie. Oh, well, but I'm sure they're connected in some way. Yeah. Yeah, for software updates.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They must be backdooring that, and Carrie, she's not a fan of backdooring. It's because that sounds very LGBT.
It is it really is the phrasing with them. Like they need to work on that just a touch.
Have you seen where that race stands in the last 6 hours? I have not. I checked on it earlier today.
Which one?
Carrie Lake.
Can't sure if we're still talking about that Arizona one.
I've
had it pulled up off and on all day.
I was checking her. The ones I've been checking back and forth are Cortez Masto, obviously.
She's
for obvious reasons. She's a little
behind about 32,000.
Oh, it's 32 now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who are we talking about?
Carrie Lake and Katie Hobbs? Yeah, she's down 32,000. Okay.
I thought you were talking about Cortez Masto because she was only down by 8,000.
Yeah. Cortez, let's see. That one, it's still showing him ahead. Oh, but oh my gosh, it's by like 700 votes.
Oh, so she's caught up since I got home.
She's caught up. Well, and that was the prediction because that's still only 94% reporting, and I think they were saying all of the rest of the precincts are Vegas precincts.
If that's the case, she wins. And if that's the case, we don't even need to worry. I mean, okay, back up, Dutch. We do need to worry about Georgia still, but
yeah, it's
not the end of the world because if she wins, then because Arizona looks really solid for Kelly.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
So it's not over, but it's like super solid. Like I'll take that.
Yeah.
And isn't it astonishing though that he's up by, last I checked, he was up by about 800 something thousand votes. Carrie Lake was down by 50,000 votes, as you just said. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that 800 to 850,000 people went on their ballot and said, I think I'm going to vote for Kelly and Carrie Lake. Those are the two that I want.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, right now she has over 1 million votes. 1 million people were like, that's what we like.
But
we need more.
How do you vote for Kelly?
I know. And then vote for
and then
Carrie.
Also, yeah, you'd be like, okay, if you're going to vote for Blake Masters and Carrie Lake, I understand that. You're a lunatic.
Yes.
But if you vote for Kelly and Carrie Lake, you're like, Kelly, yeah, and Kelly seems like the guy there. He's sensible. But Carrie Lake, man, she said, yeah, she's more sensible than Hobbs.
But Georgia too, like looking
Oh,
at
don't get me
Stacey
started.
Abrams. Oh, looking at Stacey Abrams. Like, I want to know. I want to talk to a few of those voters who are like, you know what? Of course, I'm going to vote for Warnock. But Stacey Abrams just doesn't do it for me. Let's vote for Kemp. Like, what is the thought process there? And that's a down the ballot. So they voted for Kemp first, and then they voted for Warnock. Like, what about Stacey Abrams didn't do it for them?
So we had a discussion about that on Wednesday. I know you weren't watching because you have had sick ones around.
Oh man, we're passing the sickness all around.
Yeah. With anybody out there. By the way, before I get to that statement, Veterans Day. Thank you to the veterans. So this is your day. Veterans. Drink a beer. And then vote for your next Democratic Socialist.
Take care of your mental health. Thank you for all
please.
You did.
Lauren Boebert supports you.
Kind of.
Oh yeah, she doesn't. We'll talk about her in a minute too. But what was I literally just about to say? I was literally.
We were talking about Georgia, but also kind of Arizona. So.
Okay. Oh, Abrams.
Hey, Constance.
Okay. Yo, what's up, Lemaire? Are you the only one in the stream? Oh, we got 4, 5 something in the stream, but nobody's talking. Start talking, people.
Tell us what you got.
So, Stacey Abrams. We talked about this on Wednesday, and I think there's a lot going on here, but Lauren, I didn't say this. Lauren and Haas were kind of talking about this. Mm-hmm. And they both kind of had the opinion that Stacey Abrams might have played a little bit too much identity politics.
Interesting. Okay.
Because even Lauren was like, and as a black man, he's like, every time you touch the mic, you don't have to talk about race, right? Like, and for Georgia voters, especially like sensitive, no offense to you, my friend, but sensitive white women, the Karens of the world, they're like, oh, you talk about stuff a little bit too much, they start to get uncomfortable, right? White people are very sensitive. We're easily cuckolded. And,
our fragility.
Even I like instinctually will think that sometimes, like, okay, let's get off race for a second here. And I'm like the biggest advocate for social justice you can find. But even I have a limit where it's like, I'm like, okay, are we talking about things too much? Because I've never been a huge fan of identity politics, not because I don't think they're necessary, but because I don't think they're effective in getting your message across. And what I mean by that is identity politics seem to breed reverse identity politics, right? Like Black Lives Matter literally gave birth to Blue Lives Matter. That's not Black Lives Matter fault, but
no.
It's but like that's how people combat them. Oh, well, you're going to come against this particular thing, so we're going to come against it with the opposite. So like it's not a good place to wage war and have conversation, but unfortunately they're necessary. Like the civil rights movement never would have gone through in the first place if it weren't for identity politics, right? Like it was totally necessary. So, it's but that was kind of where they were at with Abrams. And also like where I sit, and this is really, really bad. It sounds really, really horrible, but like, I just think that the fact that she's not the most attractive person in the world has something to do with that, right? Like, she's overweight. She has a little gap in her teeth. People vote in this country because we are fucking idiots. We vote for people based on what they look like sometimes, and like it may be uncomfortable to hear that, but there is a reason why Nixon lost the election in 1960. It was because,
yeah. But I mean, like I don't know if I don't disagree. And I also think we give way more leeway to men who are running than women. I mean, look at Fetterman and Oz, like neither attractive. And we're still like, yeah, but I wonder if that was because she has built momentum before. And I mean, there's lots of less than attractive people, women, even in politics. And that doesn't necessarily seem to be a factor. I kind of wonder too, like, did she build up so much momentum before and then just try to ride that. Like, I didn't follow her campaigning as closely as some other races. And so was she just kind of, I mean, because last time it was close. So was she just kind of riding that momentum?
Obviously, I don't know. And like, and I say what I say about, you know, her physical appearance, not because I want that to be true. I just have a bad feeling that it might be. And like, it's so.
Oh no. And I think it could,
time,
except for she did build up so much momentum before.
Well,
so we've seen her perform
but that's
very
well. That's also not to say that that didn't come into play last time, right? Like, because I think that that was one of the things that hurts Bernie, right? Because Bernie's always, with his hair is always flying around and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's, and people will literally like attach that as a character trait to him. They do it to Biden too, you know, and they do it to Trump.
We want them to be polished. We are very superficial creatures, and we want, for some reason, we want these people who just exude confidence and look very attractive. We do want that. That's why so many like famous people, movie stars, actors can transition into politics, because people are like, oh, look at them. They look so nice and they're so confident when they speak. And of course they are.
Right. And I'm not saying everybody has to be like a model, you know what I mean? Like, it's because like very few of these people are like movie star quality as far as like what they look like. Quality is probably the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like, they're not like, you know, your ideal Channing Tatum type looking person.
Yeah. They're not perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah. So, but as far as Abrams goes, I adore her.
Yeah.
As a campaigner, specifically, like, she is literally responsible for Georgia going blue in 2020.
Yeah.
She gets 100% of the credit for me on that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why she can't do that for herself, but some people are better at speaking for others than they are for themselves. That's not to say that's what happened there. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answers to this for sure. What I do think though is that, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that are probably true at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mikey loves that shit.
You're right. I didn't catch that. You caught me. He'll come and he will be now. He heard it. Like, he's probably in the bathroom, not even watching. And he's like, his ears burn.
He's like, Dutch said it. Dutch said it.
I know he said it. But the other thing is Kemp probably, so we know that a lot of, like, we were talking before about that voter who would go and vote for Kelly, but then also somehow oddly cast the vote for Carrie Lake. Like, those people probably cast that vote for Kemp. And the reason why I say so is because Kemp did not promote election disinformation. You know, he kind of like, he did
certify the election.
Right. Like, and that might have helped him with moderate voters.
And I think here, I'm going to pull up Constance's comment. When you say race too much, it makes white people think you're not good for the job. I don't think you're wrong, because it turned, like, looking at the Georgia results, it was only like something like 20% of white men voted for Democrats and only like 28% of white women. And so, I mean,
really, is that low?
It was incredibly low, like shockingly low. And so I'm like wondering if they
voted. Black men voted for Herschel.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if it is. I wonder if there is, like, Kemp is white, and so they voted for the white man. And then
of course they did.
Between Walker and Warnock, they're like, well, I mean, Walker is who he is, so we're going to vote Warnock. Yeah. And that's awful. I hate that we would have that conversation in 2022, but from what the exit polls look like, it does look like, by and large, white people voted Republican in Georgia, which is insane at this point. It should be insane.
It should be insane, but it's not. And the thing is, look, white people. Hold on. Why can't I touch this tab? This computer sucks balls. I'm trying to monitor the comments from my other screen, and it's not working. So let's just be honest here. White people, we got some problems, right? Like how do I say this without fuck the cucks? Actually, I don't care about offending the cucks. So, it is relatively proven fact that, and when I say proven fact, like, I don't know if there's scientific data to support this, but like anyone with a brain will tell you that, you know, like things like the Willie Horton ad had a huge effect on the Bush Dukakis campaign, right? When black people are on camera and they're not particularly smiling, you know, white people are quicker to distrust them. They're quicker to assume the worst of them, right? With white people, when we see white people on camera, we assume the best of them. That's just the way that American society has raised us to look at people. Like, white people get benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Where black people have to earn it. There's a reason why white privilege is a thing. It is a thing because of that first gut shot, half second, whether it's conscious or not, thought that this person is probably credible.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're, when you look at, and then like black people, you might, after a minute of talking to them, say, okay, you know, and no, by the way, no white conservative will listen to what I'm saying right now and say that I'm right. They'll you know what they'll say? They'll say, oh, well, you just think that way because the left are the real racists.
Yeah,
right.
You guys are the real racists.
I see black people and I see
I
a
don't
human
see
being.
color.
Right. Yeah. So first of all, to the people that say that, you're fucking lying.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Because let a civil rights campaign come across your desk. You will fucking throw that shit in the fucking trash basket. Right. So you're a fucking liar. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, where was I? When
white privilege,
when black people or Hispanic people or sometimes Asian people, you know, he's one of the good ones type of thing, right? And they make it, you pass your qualifier and you're like, okay, this is a good dude. I'm fine with having him in my house, that sort of stuff. And again, it might not even be like a conscious thing that you said that, but like it's that microsecond. But it's also way easier for them to lose that credibility than it would be because of benefit of the doubt, right? Like that benefit of the doubt is what all of this is about. That's why white people get shot by police at a lower rate than black people do, because cops extend to us more benefit of the doubt based on their perception.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I don't understand why that's hard to digest for people.
Because people don't want to acknowledge that there's a systemic issue, because if you acknowledge that there's a systemic issue, then you also have to acknowledge that you are upholding and benefit from that system. And they don't want to admit that. They don't want to get past the point where they're like, well, I'm not actively hurting black people or like physically hurting them, so I can't be a racist. They aren't willing to move past that point. And that's part of the problem, is if a huge segment of our society is not even willing to move past that point, then we're going to constantly, like, it just be like, honestly, it becomes a generational thing. Like, this is something I've said for a long time. I think certain generations, you just can't get past a certain level and they just have to die off, and then we can move forward. And one day it will be my generation, and like 4 more generations will be like, God, these millennials cannot get with the program. But it's just, I think as a generation dies off, we can move forward, because it's my grandparents' generation. They cannot get past some of these narratives that they had in the 60s and 70s. And they just say like, well, I don't see color. And why do you bring it up? Like, you just are looking for a fight. And until we can start having all these conversations beyond that point, we're going to keep doing this.
You could not talk most boomers out of the fact that the Black Panthers were a terrorist organization.
No.
Like they know they were a terrorist organization. It has to be true because that's what they were told for decades. Right? So they have to believe it. You can't change their mind on it.
I don't think we could get them past crime. And when they say inner city crime, they mean a very specific thing. And they're not willing to talk about, redistricting
white people live in
or
inner
redlining. Yeah, no, or even just intergenerational welfare. That's one I hear all the time. Well, but intergenerational welfare. My family was on welfare when I was a kid. My parents were on welfare when they were kids, and I was on welfare when I was first married. But when people say intergenerational welfare, they don't mean a white person in Idaho. That's not what they're talking about. It's a dog whistle. They're making a very specific point, but they don't want to acknowledge that. And so we have all of these dog whistles we keep using, and then people just get uncomfortable, or you get in a fight, or the conversation ends, and we never get past it.
Right. And like I've told you before, we have a Proud Boy that watches our stream, right? And he'll always and we usually ignore him, but once in a while he's very anti-police, right? So he like the other day we were talking about this, and he had said he posted, we didn't read it, but he posted in the chat. We were talking about specifically the Black fatherless phenomenon. And as any African-American person knows, and very few white people know, once you got past Jim Crow, or past Reconstruction, I'm sorry, you started getting into, the early 1900s and the first half of the 20th century, the 1900s being the 20th century. I know some people think that you're talking about the 2000s, but the Black fatherlessness was like, it didn't exist basically, unless someone died, right? Like you never ever, until the mid 50s, you never saw a fatherless Black home.
No, it wasn't like something that you associated with that group.
Exactly. It started after the war on drugs. Now, why do I bring that up? Because he posted in the chat, no, you're right. It was the war on drugs that started that, along with intergenerational welfare. And I'm like, so you have to, it can't just be one thing. They have to also say, oh, well, intergenerational welfare has to do with that too. So like you're assigning to Black people a unique trait, a unique characteristic to them, that if you offer them something for free, they will choose that over working because they feel owed or something like that. And that might be true for 5 individuals, but like you take those 5 individuals and you conflate that characteristic across the entire spectrum of millions of people.
Yeah.
Like you see it all the time. Like, well, it's true for Joe over there. What? So?
Yeah. Well, and the problem is too, with those kind of arguments is I've talked to people and they'll say, oh yeah, okay, yes, redlining, the redistricting we destroyed, like, you're right, we absolutely destroyed their neighborhood. But like you said, but intergenerational welfare, like making it partly their fault. Like, yes, we did something awful, but also if they were a different way, without saying no, like all of these things built because of what we did and because of what systemically the United States is. Like, they just cannot, they've made being an American and being a patriotic American so much of their identity. And all of us in school, we were taught to make this so much of our identity, and that the US stood for certain things. So to say, no, actually, we completely screwed up whole communities and destroyed livelihoods and very functional, healthy, happy societies for profit and gain and racism. And to say that, to make that leap, like, no, we completely made this problem and we refuse to actually do anything about it. They can't do that because they would have to look at part of who they are. And they're just not willing to do that. You're still muted. I can't hear you.
It's better that way. I think they, I know, but you're precisely right. I mean, it's you hear about like just with Black Lives Matter, and we'll get off this, and because we have other stuff we have to talk about.
Oh, it's like 1,000
and
topics.
unfortunately, this topic is not like it's evergreen.
Oh,
It's
always, yeah.
It's been this way, and like it's not going to change for a while. And I think the beautiful thing is obviously it's changing a little bit here and there, but exponentially as we move along. It really is, but because the amount of people who realize that it's bogus is way more than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Trump awoke. Thanks for waking people up, Trump. Trump awoke a lot of people to this. In a way, even including me. And I was married to an African-American woman, right? So like, I thought I knew everything. And then after I saw a lot of stuff, I was like, holy fuck, why are these fucking people doing that? I don't want to be around you. But like the patriotism thing, like, it's like my son, they did a Veterans Day. Obviously they're off today for Veterans Day, but in California, but yesterday they did a singing like thing for the troops, right? Which was great.
Yeah.
And should totally do those things. And then he comes home and like last night and the wife is like super, I wouldn't call her super religious, but she wants to be super religious, right? Like, so like because like that's what he wants to emulate her parents and stuff, and that's fine. Like if it makes you happy, go for it. But like she's, her and my son are saying their prayers, and I'm kind of laying next to him, and I always pray with them too. And like, then like my son was saying this prayer, and he was like, dear God, bless America. He's like, thank you for our freedom. Thank you for a strong army and all this. And then it was just like all these traditional America, pro-America talking points. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, I'm going to let him, he's too young. He's 8, right? So I'm like, he's too young at this point for me to deprogram. I'll deprogram him later and in a more soft way, right? So, hello, Read and Rap. This has got to be somebody who just changed their name. But we haven't had not one person on Twitch has made a comment yet. I see all of you on here. I can look at the number and see that there's 5 of you. But anyway, the
silent crowd, huh?
Yeah. The point is that like I have to like at some point explain some things to him in a way where it doesn't sound like I'm just bringing it up, and where he doesn't go back to mom and say, Dad said America sucks, right? So like, because I don't want to have that fight. She's like, oh, don't teach my son America sucks. No, I don't think, honestly, I don't think America sucks. I think Americans suck. And the country didn't do anything to anybody. It's the people in the country who did it. America is an innate object. Right? Like
I was gonna say, I think the biggest issue though is we're not special. Like Americans love this idea that we're special, and we're not. Like we're not even the good guy most of the time. We're average or like slightly villainous, or like sometimes very villainous, but we're just not
compared
special.
to Britain. We're pretty good.
I mean, that's like when people are like, we're not North Korea. I mean, you're right, but goddamn, if that's the comparison, like we're not doing great.
Hey, hello, welcome to the chat. You want to try that one? I don't know how to. That's a tough one. Cucks,
which one?
This. Thank you for the comment. I'm trying to think how to pronounce that Twitter. That Twitch.
We'll just leave it up here.
He said, "Don't." He said, "He or she said, don't bother."
Yeah, you're great. It's just a lot of letters.
Person with a K.
Yeah, thanks for triggering comments.
Yes, thank you for. Hey, JD. So now Twitch has picked up the pace. So all right, let's get to.
There's so many topics.
Yeah. So I'll let you go first. I'm sure you got.
Okay.
I have so much to talk about.
Okay, this is a little bit old news since the election's over, but did you see I was featured as a villain on an Ammon Bundy ad?
No, but I'm not surprised at all.
That's
tell
my new
people
fun
who
fact
you
about
are
myself.
first. Like for those who don't know who you are. Like,
Okay, so on TikTok I go by Socialistly Awkward. On most of my socials, I go by Socialistly Awkward, and I do political videos, political commentary, and then I live in Idaho, so there's a lot of Idaho themed stuff. Anyway, Ammon Bundy moved to Idaho. He's the absolute worst. Like absolute. Like what words get us banned on YouTube? I just don't want to say them. Anyway, he's the worst.
The K word,
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he's an absolute moron. He's the worst. He's Ammon Bundy. Everyone knows. Just the absolute worst. He should be in federal prison. He's running for governor in Idaho because in Idaho we're like, do you take over a wildlife preserve? Do you do an armed standoff with BLM? We want you as our governor. So anyway, he's running for governor, and I've done several videos about him because he's the absolute worst and his campaign videos were terrible. So in one of his last campaign videos, he featured me as a villain, and he was like, liberals hate me, and showed my picture. Anyway, I was like, getting to you.
Good for you.
I can see my videos got under your skin, Ammon.
Eat
a bag of
few
dicks.
feathers. Yeah.
Yep.
2 bags. Champagne. What's
exactly.
up? Over on YouTube. So, all right, you have that.
So I have that up on my TikTok if anybody wants to watch it, because
yeah, and you can follow her on TikTok at is it socialist? I forget
yes.
if is there a underscore in there? I forget.
Nope, just Socialistly Awkward.
Yes. Oh, the Twitter is the one where it's abbreviated. That's right. On TikTok, it's awkward is spelled out, but on Twitter,
it's just
did I say that right?
Yep. It's Socialistly AKWD.
Yeah,
Aquad.
We'll put that up in the we'll put
Got
that
the
up
link.
In the chat.
Yeah, here I can.
So the okay. Here's the first thing I want to talk about. Well, actually, Lauren Boebert. I got to talk about Lauren Boebert. All right. Lauren Boebert yesterday was up by 64 votes. Today, or down by 64 votes. Today, it was so funny because on election day, she posted, here comes the red wave, right? And then like she starts losing and she goes into complete Twitter silence, right? Like, so she was down by a few thousand votes at one time. At this point in time, she's up by like 1,000 votes. It's not completely over. It's not looking particularly great for Frisch. But there's also going to be a lot of ballots that need to be cured. And as we know, most ballots that need to be cured are mail-in ballots. They say on average 2% of mail-in ballots do need to be cured. So if they're able to, if that is the case, and those lean heavily Frisch, then that could take that lead down to 0 and possibly put him in charge. But Lauren Boebert, it was just so hilarious to me. Just the way that she disappeared from Twitter. And then yesterday, after she went up by a few votes, she posted winning.
I screenshotted it because I'm pretty sure hopefully in the future I can throw that back at her. Did you see the pictures like when she first started the election night party, and then it was like how it started and how it's going?
Yeah, and but you know what? In her defense, look, we care about facts here. I saw that picture. They were praying. You know,
I know, but they're praying for a miracle from Jesus.
Possibly, right? And well, apparently God, I was talking about this the other night. Like Carrie Lake was like, we need to pray. And I was like, pray to whom? Who should I pray to, Carrie? So God, and that's the funny thing here.
Yeah. So Which one?
Not only that, but Lauren's going to say, let's say Lauren wins. I'm waiting for the tweet where she's going to say, our prayers and faith pulled us through and we won. But why just you, Lauren? Why didn't it work for Carrie Lake? Isn't she just as devout?
I was going to say, or Herschel Walker, like everyone else who's still fighting. Well, because it never works. And like, also, why is he so worried about Lauren Boebert's election? But like, there are children going to bed hungry.
Read
Is
and
he
wrap.
incapable of doing something for them?
There's a leftist journalist here on Twitch named Levelhead that has interviewed Lauren Bobert a few times, can confirm she is insane. No, there's no question that she is.
Oh.
And like, it's, yeah, she's just the stuff that woman, like, have you ever read her contract with Colorado?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's fucking juicy stuff. Like, well, I'm not going to read that today, but we'll
I'm
have
sure
to maybe
it's
go over that
excellent.
one day.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
What's really been funny, and I'll tell you what, let's share my screen here.
Oh yeah, I want to see.
Truth Social has been, which one's Truth Social? Here it is. This is Truth Social. So I'm not signed in or anything. I do have one, but it's on my phone. I have a troll account, but so Truth Social, just looking at this has been delicious. So
I'm sure the
Trump has been
tears.
attacking. Oh my God, it's been like whose fault is it? Was a big mix, Lindsay, of whose fault is this, and like blaming the Republican Party, never Trump, on Truth Social, but also like, oh, it's fraud, right? Like the governor of New York was like one of the first races to get called.
Yeah.
And Truth Social went crazy saying, there's no way that this is accurate. There's definitely fraud. And I'm like,
of course they did.
It's New York.
Yeah. Is that a shocker? Like,
yeah,
what did you think was going to happen there? Like, come on now.
Like, if they're going to say that the race in New York, a statewide election in New York, was rigged, there is nothing they won't say is rigged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's just their default at this point.
It absolutely, because it has to be, right? I've really been trying to find this this press release that Trump put out the other day, and I'm trying to see if I can. Where is this? Let me see if I can find the entire press release. While I'm looking for that, go ahead.
While you're looking for that, though, what I've noticed is the far right in Idaho, and usually they're kind of the pulse for what's going on in the far right in general. But there is a lot of blame on Trump and a lot of sudden backpedaling from Trump all over the Republican spectrum, but especially the far right. And they're saying he's poison. They're saying he's more interested in winning than actually helping the party. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, now that you're losing, now, Jesus Christ, that was salient in 2016. But okay, thanks for catching up with the rest of the class now that it affects you. And anyway, they are running from Trump as quickly as they can, saying he's poison, that they hate him, he's bad for the party. They are all very quickly jumping on Team DeSantis. Very, very quickly.
Yeah. Did he release it on Truth Social? Maybe he did. When did this? Let me see. Maybe I can find it on Truth Social, because this was earlier I was listening to TYT and they read the whole thing, right? But like, I'm trying to find the entire oh wait, I think I just found it. Let's see if this is it here. Well, I'll just read through this. This is, you can see this, right? So, while in certain ways yesterday's election was somewhat disappointing from my personal standpoint, it was a very, very big victory. 219 wins and 16 losses in the general. Who's ever done better than that? Now that midterms are over and a success, okay, News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post, bring back COL, whatever that is. The old owner, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor. Yeah, this is it, with great public relations, who didn't have to close his state up, but did, unlike other Republican governors. whose overall numbers for a Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who has the advantage of sunshine, where people from badly run states up north would go, no matter who the governor was, just like I did. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, I'm super fucking happy that I found this. This is from his account, right? So, but you're not making this up.
Yeah.
Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, losing in a landslide to a very good agricultural commissioner, Adam Putman, who was loaded up with cash and great poll numbers. Trump put some thought into this one, right? Like he
like looked up numbers and names again.
Go ahead. Can you read the screen? Is it big enough for you to read?
Oh, it's kind of little. If I get real close, I could, but I'll let you keep going.
Ron had low approval, bad polls, and no money. But he said that if I would endorse him, he could win. I didn't know Adam Putman, so I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. When I endorsed him, it was as though, to use a bad term, thanks. You're so politically correct, Don. Thanks. To use a bad term, a nuclear weapon went off.
Oh my God.
Years later. He pushes forward years. Years later.
God damn it.
So Thanos is like Avengers. So Thanos snaps away half of humanity. 5 years later.
5 years later. Jesus Christ.
They were the exact words that Adam Putman used in describing Ron's endorsement. He said, I went from having it made with no competition to immediately getting absolutely clobbered after your endorsement. And he said yours, so he's obviously saying this to Trump. Somehow Putman got access to Trump, and he's like, you asshole. I then got Ron by the, quote, star of the Democratic Party, Andrew Gillum, who was later revealed to be a crackhead, by having two massive rallies with tens of thousands of people at each one. I also fixed his campaign, which had fallen apart. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum. But after the race, when votes started being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County.
I love how he admits that's like corrupt in favor of the Republicans.
Right, exactly. And Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott. I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft ended immediately, just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen. So, hold on a second. I was all in for Ron and he beat Gillum, but after the race, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process, and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended. What are you talking about? So are you saying that you stopped counts, Trump?
Yeah. Oh, he's saying that he stopped the vote count. Like he admits to corruptly influencing an election.
Oh.
I mean, that is one of many things wrong with what's going on. Just one of many in this. We had a comment though. They said, "Aren't DeSantis and Trump like two versions of the same people?" Yes. Oh, yeah, yes. The difference is DeSantis is smart and not terrible at everything he does and not just a buffoon. And so I think he's more dangerous than Trump because now he's winning. And what Republicans have shown us is as long as they don't care if somebody's a bastard, as long as it's their bastard who will be a dick to everyone else. And that's what they had with Trump. But now that's not enough to get wins. But they think that DeSantis might be because he's actually like smart-ish. And so they're gonna jump behind him because they think they can win. And now he'll be their new bastard. And Trump can see the writing on the wall. He's not completely oblivious. And so
No.
that's why he's upset. He wants to be their guy still. He loves the adoration. He was hailed as a cult leader practically. And of course he's not going to let that go.
Oh, not practically. That's precisely what he is.
Yeah.
But read and rap. Can you read this in your best Trump impression?
Oh my God,
I do have one. I actually do have one.
I haven't heard it. I want to hear it.
Well, before we were this show, back when we used to be Voice from the Underground years ago, we had a bit that we used to do that no one liked. That was where I would literally pick up my phone and turn on the ringer. Like, you know how you can make your own phone ring by changing the volumes and stuff. And I would pretend my phone was ringing. I'd say, hold on. And then I'd pretend that I was cutting out. And I'd be like, some app to my line. And then Donald would, hello, everyone at Dig on America. It's me, Donald Trump. I'm here. I know it's not a very good Trump impersonation, but I'm going to do it anyway because everyone tells me that I'm the best. So I fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart, of course. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum, or he'd probably pronounce it Gilliam. But after the race, capitalized, by the way, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt process in Broward County, and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott and Little Marco, I sent in the FBI, the U.S. attorneys, and ballot theft immediately ended just prior to them running out of the votes necessary. I stopped his election from being stolen. And now Ron DeSanctimonious is playing games.
DeSanctimonious.
The fake news, it's like his worst nickname ever. The fake news asks him if he's going to run. If President Trump runs, because I talk about myself in the third person, you know, I come to myself, I say, sir, you've done a wonderful job. I say, thank you, sir, to myself. And he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking into the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. Well, pause. What the fuck? Can you please interpret that for America? What he said, I'm concentrating. I can't believe I'm defending Ron DeSantis here. Ron DeSantis said, hey, you know what? I'm focused on Florida right now. I'll talk about that shit later. It's like if you just won a football game. Hey, what do you think about the Packers next week? Hey, you know what? We're going to enjoy this win for today. Talk to me about that shit later. That's super fucking normal. Trump says, no, he has no class.
Of course he does. He wants him to be the villain right now. He's sick of he hates the attention he's getting. So anything he can say to try to be like, see, he's not a team player. He's just focusing on his state. No, I know. I hate when I know. No, I hate anybody who makes me agree with the far right. So Jesus, Trump.
This is just like 2015 and 2016, a media assault collusion when Fox fought me to the end until I won. And then they couldn't have been nicer or more supportive. Maria Bartiromo even gave me a little sweet loving on the side. The Wall Street Journal loved low energy Jeb Bush. Low energy. That's his new. He's gonna make a new energy drink called low energy Jeb Bush.
I hate that he's not all the way wrong with that.
Look, this is this. Look,
okay.
I despise Trump. I fucking hate the guy. But I will admit, he can be funny sometimes. I don't know if he does it on purpose, but this is why he's fun to cover. Like sometimes he can be genuinely funny.
I was gonna say,
I don't think he's trying to be here.
His nicknames for people are kind of accurate in a terrible way usually, but I'm like, it's kind of accurate.
Look, I'm a progressive. Adam Schiff is really shifty. He's exactly right about Adam Schiff. Okay.
Yeah.
But he doesn't realize the reason why he's right.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So, he thinks Adam Schiff is actually on the left.
Yeah.
He's part of the joke. But anyway, low energy Jeb Bush and a succession of other people as they rapidly disappeared from sight finally falling in line with me as I easily knock them out one by one. We're in exactly the same position now. They will keep coming after us, MAGA, but ultimately we will win. Put America first and make America great again. He said something else too. Anyway, so look, this is your, we'll come back to this in a minute, but this is your leader, folks, right? This is the guy that you say is like totally, oh, you know what? And you know what he said? I know what he said in a later tweet. He was like, or truth. He was like, remember, folks, I'm a really stable genius.
Oh
my God. Now, just imagine. I know I've been talking for a minute. No one wants to hear me talk. You want to hear
No,
her
no.
And I'm gonna, but I just imagine for 1 minute that I said this. You know, from one really stable genius to another, me to Trump, I have to tell you, Donald, I know exactly what you're saying. You know, I have couple years ago, I started up a mega, what was immediately an overwhelmingly successful live stream network, millions of viewers. Everyone knows. And Lindsay, she came, she was down and out. She had her TikTok campaign was falling apart. She had nothing going for her. It was look, I'm just telling you guys here. I hate to out Lindsay here because she's a great ally. She's very loyal to me. And I can barely get this out. And doesn't
it feel dirty?
And she's like, she walked by me like every woman does on the street. And she was like, oh, if only I'd met you earlier, because that's what women do when they meet me on the street. They say, it's a man. I mean, his shoes are like size 70. Like, I wish I had met you earlier. And like Lindsay, she said all this. She was like, look, I have my Twitch, my TikTok channel is really in bad shape. I'm running out of content. I have nothing to talk about. Could you please put me on your stream and save me? And I said, Lindsay, I don't really know you, but let's give it a go. I'll save your career. Don't worry. Because I'm a very stable genius.
And you stopped all the other TikTokers. Like, you stopped all of their views so that I could have the views and be the top TikTok channel. Yeah.
Without me, I'm just telling you guys right now, without me, Lindsay is a failure.
Facts.
Okay. She is an absolute failure. And she knows it too. You can ask her. Right? Like,
it's undeniable.
So now back to reality. If I actually said those things, you would look at me and you would say, I'm a fucking lunatic and an asshole.
Oh, yeah. But he still has that power, or he still thinks that he has that power. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this settles out, because I think there's still a lot of movement within the Republican Party about where the space that he occupies. But that's the thing is, since 2015, he's been able to say those things, and people are like, yep, like, my God, he went after Ted Cruz's wife, and Ted Cruz was like, give me more of that. Like, he's been doing this for years, and everyone just takes it. And so he thinks he can still do that. But as his social capital declines, we'll have to see where the breaking point for that is.
Oh my God, he thought I was being sarcastic. Yeah.
Oh my God. Somebody's gonna save that and just like destroy this stream. They'll be like,
I'm gonna let you talk about I'm gonna let you for those on the audio, I'm gonna let you or who are on YouTube, you can't see this. I'm gonna grab something to drink while she talks.
My God. Okay. Read and Rap 2 said, oh, thank God you're being sarcastic. I was about to say, this guy sounds like a dick. I almost switched streams. He does, because like he sounded like Trump. So I can see, if you like got halfway through that and then jumped on, that sounded really bad. That sounded really, really bad. So yeah, no, but we'll have to see. My issue is Trump is losing his social capital, and I love to see it. Like you got like watching him endorse people and them just flounder, and the Republicans just marinating in all of this loss and scrambling and the sudden Trump hatred, but part of the party is still like trying to defend Trump, and others are distancing themselves, which we have receipts for days about them like praising Trump. Anyway, watching the Republicans marinate in their impotent losses is fantastic. It's good for my soul. It's good for my skin. But I am really curious about what this is going to look like when, as it continues to fracture and as Trump continues to lose social capital and DeSantis potentially gains that social capital.
I don't know what the fuck I just touched that was greasy. But don't you hate that when you grab like a doorknob or something and you're like, what the fuck is
Oh yeah, and you're like, oh, what is that?
Yeah. What, like the kids put petroleum jelly on the fucking doorknob or something.
Oh, that's fun.
But it's, look, Matt Gaetz is out there talking shit. Like he's clearly like pushing himself onto Team MAGA. You know, and so what you're seeing here is this divide happening within the GOP. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is fucking delicious, right?
Oh, I love it.
There's a couple of different things. So let me share this real quick, guys. We talked about Lauren Boebert before. I had meant to use this as a segue, but I suck at this. So I'll pull it up here now. Sweet Lauren. Oh, sweet, sweet Lauren Boebert. Most beautiful Republican in the world, according to her.
Truly the smartest.
Truly the smartest. So this was a tweet I put out earlier. She says, Lauren Boebert says, top of Colorado ticket might have hurt her. And then she goes on to blame other Republicans in Colorado being weak for her close race.
Her poor showing. Oh,
so as I said,
they're trying to blame anyone. Like, and that's what's Dutch. I am full. I haven't been hungry for days because I'm eating this Schadenfreude and I'm loving it. Mm-hmm. Like this is like my skin has never been so clear. I've never been so full in my life, and it is there. Like in Idaho, there was a race where we had kind of a moderate-ish Republican running against a Democrat, and that wasn't good enough for them. So the far right ran a candidate who split the vote, and the Democrat won. And they were blaming everyone. They were blaming the Dems. They were blaming people in Boise. They were blaming, random other people loosely associated with any of the campaigns. And just watching them scramble like this has been phenomenal. And watching the more moderate wing of the party fighting with the MAGA Republicans who are now infighting with themselves. This is it's true. This is fantastic. I would watch this. Like if this was a TV show, I would watch this all day.
It's reality TV at its best.
This is better than Real Housewives. Like
anything is better than Real Housewives.
Sometimes it's really phenomenal. Like the drama is just sometimes it just hits, but this is better. This is absolutely better.
There's I want to say it was Matt Gaetz who put out this other tweet. Let's see. But like they can't. That's Lauren Boebert. Obviously, she cannot. That's Matt Gertz, not Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz. There we go.
Make sure you get the right one because now there's probably like 8 accounts.
Yeah, they're. Oh yeah, because now Elon's made it so that everybody
Make sure you're quoting the right. We are in the weirdest possible timeline.
Like there was a guy who said to Elon Musk, I don't know if you saw that tweet where someone said, Elon, I can't change my name. So he changed his name. He was like, oh, don't worry, you can change your name. So he changed his name to Elon Musk and then bought the blue check mark, and people actually thought it was Elon Musk. And it's like Elon Musk just got trolled by himself.
Well, and they did it with Tesla. They did it with Eli Lilly and said that insulin was free, and that's cost that company potentially billions of dollars. And anyway, yeah, the Tesla, they were talking about driving Teslas into the World Trade Towers. Like it's out of control at this point.
Well, you know what? Honestly, Elon has this to blame for himself, right? Because and I was having a conversation with Kim about this yesterday, because Kim is big on Twitter, and like she's irate. And like a lot of the people that I have talked, like they're firing people, and then they fired a bunch of people, and then they had to, that when Twitter went down over the weekend, he had to call the people he just fired to bring them back.
Yeah, well, because he fired him based on code written, like amount of code written. So everyone who had really challenging positions and was moderating really challenging content and, writing that new code and troubleshooting, they all got fired. And it was the people who were just like, I just, just doing these quick little like basic updates. They're the ones who stayed. So nobody knew how to do anything.
Yeah, it's almost like, here's an interesting factoid for a lot of folks out there who may not know this. One of the reasons why the Saudis, when they first took over their oil from the British, why the British were able to get their clutches back onto a good piece of it, was because the British pulled all of their people out, right? And there was the Saudis had nobody. I forget if it was Saudi Arabia or Iran where this happened. I think it was Saudi Arabia. And like the Saudis had nobody who knew how to fix the equipment, because the British had been the ones fixing the equipment. This is basically the same thing, except for Elon did this by choice, not because of imperialism, right? So it's and thanks for following to Champagne. And well, Kanye West was right. It's probably hopefully that's not a troll. But
no, I was gonna say we're getting in the chat. They've trolled other political channels, so
okay. But there was, so where was I going with this? Oh, so Matt Gaetz, as I have it literally up on the screen and my fucking head is not working right. So Matt Gaetz has clearly he's McCarthy, McConnell, McDaniel, McFailure, McNugget. He forgot the McNugget in there. McCarthy, like there's a big movement right now for my congressman. I'm in McCarthy's district, like literally. I did not vote for him. I voted for Marissa Wood, who was awesome and came on and was on our show 3 weeks ago. But and Marissa Wood is fantastic, and she got crushed like we kind of figured that she would. But McCarthy, like he was like, oh yeah, I'm next Speaker of the House. Maybe not so fast, Kevin.
I was gonna say they started counting their chickens way before they were hatched. So,
I'm also very. If I happen to get, I'm almost kind of hoping in some ways that I get laid off in the next 4 months. I don't want to get laid off because I need money.
Yeah.
But if I did happen to get laid off, if that did happen, maybe I'll run against McCarthy. Maybe.
Hey.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'd probably lose. I'm in Bakersfield. It's plus 16, right?
I was going to say, yeah.
Or minus 16 in my case. But I can tell you this, debate ain't going to go particularly well for Kevin.
Yeah. If he'll even do that, because that's what they're realizing is it doesn't go well for them, so they're not doing it anymore.
He probably wouldn't, and that's the only reason. Well, no, it's not the only reason, but it is a reason why, because that would not go well for Kevin.
No.
I've talked to Kevin McCarthy before. I've met him. I've shook his hand. When I first moved here, I didn't even know who the fuck he was. I just heard he was the congressman. I didn't follow politics that closely to know that he was, 7 years ago, to know that he was, a big gun. I just thought he was the congressman, right? Like,
yeah, you're
big deal. I was from, and like, I'm from, to kind of give you an idea, like this is the second time I've lived in a different district with possibly the second Speaker of the House. Because I guess whose district I lived in when I was growing up, Dennis Hastert's. Okay,
Oh.
so I am a hastard bastard. There was literally roads around the corner from my house that were called Hastert Street, where they had to rename them after it was found out that he was a child molester.
Yeah.
So, but he was Speaker of the House. So I was like, well, fuck, I met Dennis Hastert before. Like, he was Speaker of the House. Who's this fucking clown?
Yeah.
But and Kevin McCarthy is like, he's very charming, he's very soft, he's very nice, right? When I met him, he was a perfectly friendly guy, and but he's a fucking bullshit artist. He'll tell you he's a business owner. He owned he like made sandwiches in his uncle's fucking ice cream shop.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's not owning a fucking business. And he does debate his opponents. He's always debated his opponents, at least the last 3 that I know of, because I've interviewed the last 3 opponents, and all 3 of them said all 3 of them debated him, and I watched those debates. And like, he loses those debates every time, but you don't realize he's lost them when you watch the debate, because he's so polished, and because other people try to be nice to him, and they have tact. As Lindsay will tell you, and anyone who watches this show will tell you, I have no tact. I will tell his ass. You have no problem
just being like, shut the fuck
Kevin,
up, bro. That's
you're
all
a
fake.
fucking bullshitter. Stop fucking lying with the explicitives.
Yeah. Well, and I wish, okay, something that Beto was doing, and we had Doug Brennan, and I know we've talked about this before, as they started to kind of say that's bullshit. And I think civility politics has been used against Democrats so much that there's a balance, obviously, but we will try to be so nice. And like, if I'm just really nice to them and I'm just kind of intellectual, and we have a meeting of the minds, it'll be fine. And like, people will see I have a really good point and that I have a good position, and that's why they should vote for me. And that doesn't it doesn't work. It doesn't work, because they just say bullshit, but they say it nicely, and they say it in a polished way. And so they give these, oh, you're muted. They have these bullshit talking points, but because they say it so nicely, so polishedly, everyone's like, well, I mean, that sounds pretty good. That sounds great. And then we're like, well, God, I just don't want to be the asshole who's like, you're just actually up here completely lying. But we need to start doing that, like Beto did with the Uvalde thing. And people respond to that. We have to start doing things that motivate people to vote for us, or we're going to keep getting caught in these circles.
And what, let's just be super clear. What motivates people to vote for you? When you do things that help them. Progressive policy is popular.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there who thinks, like, don't take my word for this, go fact check me. Polling will show, not every poll, of course, but the vast majority of polls will show that most Americans support a higher minimum wage.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe in your state, they voted for a higher minimum wage 3-4 years ago. I know they did in the Dakotas. Like,
no,
even Arkansas.
No.
It wasn't Idaho.
Well,
it was probably.
We were going to have a ballot initiative, but the legislature nixed it. So they probably would have voted for. They voted for the Medicaid expansion, and the legislature voted that down like 4 years in a row. And first vote, the people wanted it.
That was what it was then. What I was thinking, because I was going to say there was something in Idaho that it was the Medicaid expansion, which was done under the ACA, Obamacare, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we rejected it. And then the minute it was on by huge margins, Americans were like, yes, please. Oh my God. Can we have some healthcare, please?
So what she's saying is, when she says we reject it, they said the state legislature rejected it.
Yeah, the legislature rejected it.
The people did not. They voted for a left-wing policy.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama voted for a higher minimum wage. Arkansas a couple years ago voted for a higher minimum wage, like an increment of $1.50 a year over 3-4 years. When it happens in California, it's first page news on Fox. But when it happens in Alabama, you won't hear a fucking word about it. Right?
No.
Most Americans support a higher living wage, or a higher minimum of higher wages. Most Americans support universal health care.
Yeah.
Single payer health care is like popular to like 80%.
Yeah.
According to some polls.
Medicaid for all, or even like I saw a poll recently that Medicaid for all children, like every child minimum has Medicaid. And you could expand on that, but minimum has Medicaid. It was something like 82% of Americans are like, yeah, absolutely. Like, we do think every child should have health care, should have access to the health care that they need. But when you hear the politicians talk, it's like, well, that's so we can't have that. And then we'd have no more liberty. We'd be stuck in a North Korea hellhole if we gave all the children. You live in
Alabama? Oh, Kanye, I'm sorry to hear that.
As an unfortunate place to be from. And that's coming from someone who lives in Idaho. So
I once explained progressive policies without using progressive terminology to some of my I know where you're going. Conservative Amazon coworkers when I was in college, they're all like, yeah, I agree. Those are great ideas. Exactly. Yeah. But that is exactly correct. When you look at our policies just in paper, should we have more clean energy? Should we use renewables? Should we have a higher living wage? Should we have universal or at least a type of single payer healthcare system?
Exactly.
Right?
Like a minimum basement.
Yes. Those things are popular, but they call us radicals.
Yeah. Or even having reproductive, like at this point in America, having reproductive rights at this point is a radical stance. But most Americans want it. Most Americans recognize that pregnancy is complicated and that as much as we'd like it to just be black and white, that they all know someone who's had an ectopic pregnancy, a miscarriage, a whoopsie pregnancy where there was no good situation to bring a baby into. And like the Kansas vote made it very clear. And a lot of states voted.
In Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky, Montana. There were several states who passed constitutional amendments or some kind of, voter mandate to keep abortion access. Michigan had one. And
can we give a shout out to Michigan, by the way?
Oh my God. And,
like Gretchen Whitmer is fucking awesome.
Michigan kicked ass, and Minnesota, they got some progressive candidates that the Democratic Party kind of snubbed and we're like, you guys, there's no way you can win. Like Minnesota really brought like some very progressive candidates to the table and they got elected.
Yeah, the ones that made the primary, that like we had Amani Badhasso on the show, and she was like one of the best candidates that I've ever talked to. I don't know if you know who that one was, but I forget who she ran against off the top of my head. A female congressman in Minnesota who's been there forever and is like a big Pelosi ally. And she's not a bad congressperson, but like Amani Badhasso was just a phenomenal candidate. We had Melanie Diorigo on this show. Melanie Diorigo was astonishing. A lot of these progressive candidates that we had on the show, like they call them radicals because they believe in going to office and getting elected to office on really four things: higher minimum wage, healthcare, access to healthcare, women's healthcare, and no money in politics. And they call them crazy, not because they support those things, but because they're like, you know what? No, I'm actually going to do them when I get there.
Exactly. I'm not just saying that. And that's the difference is Democrats will all day run on these, these little tidbits that they'll throw us. They're not going to do any of it because our Democratic Party is basically Republicans light. And like we said that about Biden, he's like, flat, lukewarm water. And so diet water.
Oh yeah, I love that term, diet water.
Diet water.
Anter says most Americans want these things, but the people with a lot of money doesn't. Corruption is the biggest problem in the U.S. I'm sorry to say. It's an obvious choice from across the pond. Lobbying is legal, so it's to be expected. And, I don't even need to say anything.
After Citizens United, like that set the course. And it's been the same.
Well, Citizens United was the latest decision. There's a battery of decisions that led to that. But like these policies, like, look, if you're really a progressive, don't buy what the other centrist Democrats tell you, because our ideas are not radical. They want to keep electing people like Nancy Pelosi to office. And again, I'm not one of those people. I don't care for Pelosi too much. I'll admit, like, especially in her early days in Bush, she pushed a lot of very positive policy. She was she was a key piece of the ACA, you know, so I give her credit for some things. But in the last 8-9 years, she hasn't done anything except cherry pick legislation.
Yeah.
You know, and she doesn't.
She's
Go
there
ahead.
to enrich herself at the. Oh, I don't mean to interrupt, but she's just there to enrich herself at this point. What needs to happen and what we need to start doing, especially since we saw Gen Z turned up. Like they turned up and they voted, and millennials turned up and they were in large margins voting Democrat, and they're showing up. And what we just need to do is flip the script. Stop it. When the moment they say, well, you're radical because you want healthcare, you know what's radical? Not wanting people to have their basic needs met. Like, what are you doing in office if you aren't going to try to help all of your constituents have their basic needs met? That's radical. That's psychotic. Like, we've got to start turning this around. Be progressive. Because what are they going to do? Not vote for us? Like, we're seeing the people who are progressive, who are unapologetically progressive, if we can get them past the primary, they are winning because voters want those things. Voters support those programs. Our biggest hurdle right now is getting them past the primary because the Democratic Party doesn't actually want anything to change. So they're not willing to support them.
Yeah. And what you mentioned, I was just trying to find the tweet. I can't find it. It's there. Trust me. Promise. Bridget Gabriel, who's a MAGA lunatic. Yeah. She said, let's raise the minimum voting age to 21.
Of course she did.
Yeah. And I think I retweeted that. So what you're saying, no minimum age to hold a gun.
I was going to say, you can still buy a gun at 18.
But minimum age, right. And you know what? Read and Rap, you're exactly right. Because, and this is something that I was talking about, and even people in my own camp got mad at me. Look, Real Clear Politics and not so much, not as much 538, but definitely Real Clear Politics, Rasmussen. These are right-wing polls, right? They're not calling Gen Z people. Gen Z people don't answer their fucking phones. Okay. My daughter's 21. She don't answer her phone, right? No. Like she literally has her phone on Do Not Disturb. I know that I have to call her twice to get through to her. So they're not talking to pollsters. So like, and they know this, but they advertise these polls as being, you know, legit when they know they're wrong. And these right-wing pollsters push this stuff out saying, oh, you know, we're going to have a fucking red wave because my thought is, this is Jason's opinion. They like the right wing in power. It's just good for them. So if they can dissuade people from going to the polls, why not do that? Do I have any evidence of that? Not really, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So,
and I've been saying that for a while, that the polling, I mean, we saw how wrong the polling was in 2016, and it's been flawed before that. And the entire purpose of the polling at this point is to set a narrative. Like, we have to stop acting like this is just like some random data just like handed down from the gods. It always has a motive. It's always skewed a certain way. And we know that it's incredibly flawed. And we know that it's been incredibly flawed for minimum 7 or 8 years. And we have to start, we have to just start saying, like, I made several TikToks where I was like, stop looking at polls. Just don't, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because their pollsters were even admitting in articles, no, we aren't asking Gen Z. We're assuming all of Gen Z is an unlikely voter. We aren't asking millennials. We're assuming those are unlikely voters. We aren't asking college kids. And so the polls reflected that. And of course the Republicans ran with that narrative. But my issue is in states like Idaho, Utah, where we're already so red, but we potentially in certain districts, in certain areas, we have a chance to make a difference. That messaging that's going to be a red wave, that dissuades voters. There were so many people like, what doesn't matter? Like, what doesn't, I was like, no, stop. Come on. We still have to show up. It still matters. And that's why I'm so sick of it. That's like my messaging this whole election was stop listening to polls because the data is skewed, the data is wrong. And we know that.
Yeah. We knew it was wrong. Like, and look, Bill, love you, but past shelf life, Lindsay, if you would take this comment and explain the difference, please.
Sure. Absolutely. He said, I'm not encouraged to hear you two making a distinction between progressives and Democrats. You were just talking about how much you enjoyed watching infighting among Republicans. How can you support it among Democrats? So I think the issue is, and the difference is that within MAGA and Republicans, you have, like, the way I've been trying to explain it is you have your early Bush era Republicans, your H.W. Bush Republicans, and they've all just kind of been right wing, but kind of moderately right wing. They were conservative and, you know, a bunch of all that. And then we have MAGA, who came in and completely, like, it started with the Tea Party. They came in, totally took over the party, shoved it all the way to the right, moved the Overton window to hell. And then now some of them, and the moderate Republicans allowed them to do it. They were like, hey, I mean, as long as we get to stay in power and as long as, you know, Trump is our bastard, we're great with this. And now all of a sudden they're like, wait, now we're losing. Oh no, like, wait, Trump can't carry us for the next 100 years and we can't just completely have a takeover. And oh no, maybe we pushed too far. Maybe we did too much. Oh no, now we hate Trump. So the difference between that with Democrats and progressives is the progressives within the Democratic Party will squash them. Like, even AOC, they have tried to muzzle her so many times. Bernie, they paint the Democratic Party. The Republicans don't even have to say anything because the Democratic Party paints him as a nut. And they have for years. And so progressive policies are popular with people. They're very populist policies. But if we're being completely honest, the Democratic Party benefits from the money they get in elections. They benefit from their sponsors. They benefit from their ability to do insider trading on Wall Street. And progressive policies will limit that. Progressive policies would set term limits, would use more of our tax money for things like Medicaid for all, as opposed to military contracts that the Democrats benefit from too. And so instead of them being able to buy more houses, we say, no, people should have health care. And the Democratic Party doesn't want that. So instead of helping to create helping to make a party that actually helps people in our country, they want to continue to make the party Republican light, diet water, so that they can say that they are an alternative to Republicans without actually distinguishing themselves as different in a way to benefit American people.
So first of all, you're exactly right. But Lindsay, you're being too nice. So I'll be, and look, Bill, here's the part where you're missing. Okay. Progressives are generally fighting back, not starting fights. Now, I agree that there's a lot of infighting on the left. But the infighting that's happening on the right is very different from the infighting that is happening on the left. The right wing is fighting over, you could argue that MAGA wants to pull the party closer to the right where the centrists don't. But the real difference is that the people on the right, like your Reagan era, your Bush era, like Lindsay brought up, your Reagan and Bush Republicans that Lindsay was talking about, they're perfectly fine with all of the policy that MAGA wants to push through. They're perfectly okay with, cutting taxes all the way down, ending all social programs, making abortion illegal, at least in most cases. I think that if you were to poll all Reagan supporters on abortion, it would be a majority who would say, let's make abortion illegal. Having a theocratic state, like, those types of, like, a Christian government, so to speak, they're perfectly fine with all of that policy. And they're perfectly fine with pushing that policy through and actually making it come to fruition. The part where they're different, MAGA and the Bush Reagan people, is on the culture war stuff. They agree with the culture war stuff. Like, they probably agree on immigration. They probably agree that they don't like Black Lives Matter, those sorts of things. But they don't like how abrasive the Lauren Boeberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matt Gaetzes and the Jim Jordans and the Donald Trumps are, and the Carrie Lakes, right? They don't like the election denial stuff. And the election denial stuff, like, because they trust the American system. They were brought up to believe that America is perfect, and that any criticism of America is therefore problematic. so that fight is there, but it's not over politics. It's over social and cultural issues and rhetoric. On the left, it's different because you have a lot of folks who are actually conservatives, maybe not socially conservative. They might like be totally cool with Black Lives Matter and totally, down with a lot of the understand that immigration is not like, being anti-immigrant is xenophobic and stuff like that. They agree on the social issues, usually to a point. Where they disagree is on pushing money out of politics and actually pushing through policy that matters. Saying, you know what? No, I don't want to do a 20-year transition into green energy. No, I don't want to do a 15-year transition into a universal or single-payer healthcare system. Progressives know that the math supports that we are correct, because economists and social scientists and even pollsters will tell you that these policies are popular. And when we look at the people who are in control of the Democratic Party, those people are purposely not pushing these things that are popular with the American people through. So when you look at your party and you say, hey, Nancy Pelosi claims to be for a universal healthcare system, but she refuses to actually do anything to push it forward, you have to call that out as being something. I would say it's dishonest. Others would say it's corruption. Others would say she's just weak. Others would say that she doesn't want to ruffle feathers because she wants to stay in power. Maybe all of those people are right to a point. All right. But the only real difference between progressives and Democrats is the fact that we want to push these things through right away and actually put them onto a valid initiative and vote for them. But people in the center, like your center left people, like your Andrew Yangs of the world and your Tim Ryans of the world and your Eric Swalwells of the world and your Joe Bidens of the world are like, no, we don't want to push those things through because they're too radical. We want green energy, but let's do it slowly in like 60 years. And in the meantime, let's still take money from fossil fuels. Progressives don't want to do that. We refuse to take money from fossil fuels, most of the time at least. There's probably a couple that don't. We don't want to take money from insurance companies and stuff like that. And they're constantly attacking us lately because of the fact that they still think that we're responsible for 2016 when Hillary lost, ignoring the fact that Hillary Clinton was just a fucking terrible candidate.
Yeah.
But they'll blame us and say, well, look, if you look at the Bernie voters, a lot of Bernie voters voted for Trump. You're right. They did. But those weren't the progressives. Those were like your 65-year-old union member truck driver who likes populism.
Exactly. Well, and I think something that we don't talk about that Past Shelf Date keeps commenting is that we can't have infighting because then it will split the vote. The infighting we're talking about is very, very different, where it's like we're not talking about running a progressive candidate to try to defeat the Democratic candidate. What we're talking about is during the primary, we have to stand behind that. This is the whole point. The whole point of a primary is you have infighting so that you find the best candidate. Well, what's always happened is the moment the primaries start, the media and really the structures that be within the Democratic Party say, well, they pick like the literal diet water, Democratic candidate and say they're the only one. They're the only one who can possibly beat a Republican. It's got to be them. It's only them. And we don't even give progressive candidates a chance. And those are the candidates who get people excited. Those are the people who, like Bernie, people went out, like we caucused in Idaho. People stood outside in March. It was snowing. It was like 5 degrees. People stood outside for 6 hours for Bernie. Like people showed up. I had my kids, like we had a little space heater. We were just sitting out there as it's snowing and miserable because I'm like, no, we have to be here. We have to do this. And so progressive candidates inspire voters, and they get voters excited, and voters show up for them because they actually do the things that they say they're going to do instead of just say it to get elected. So what we need to do is stop the Democratic Party from we have to stop believing them when they say, well, we in our internal polling data, they can't possibly win. And that's not what Americans want. And that's what I'm saying is during the primaries, we need to tell them to shut the fuck up. Because obviously what they're doing doesn't work that well. And people do like the progressive candidates. So we need to tell them, no, how about you take a seat for now? Thank you, boomers. Time to take a seat. We're going to run the progressives because that gets people excited. People show up. People are sick of voting for diet water. Like they always tell us, hold your nose and vote. Fucking hold your nose and vote for the progressive. If you really stand with the party, fucking do it. And that's what we're not seeing. Is no, I'm not saying that we wouldn't vote Democrat and the general. I'm saying run the progressive. Run the progressive that everyone likes, that will actually do the populist policies and that people will show up for. Instead of tell us from the beginning they can't possibly win and then tell us to hold our nose and get in line and then say, well, don't fight. If we fight, we can't win, everybody. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Run the progressive. You diet water, take a seat. You had your turn. Nobody likes you. And that's it.
Right. And again, they are, look, when Summer Lee won her primary, the centrists on the left were fucking furious. When Fetterman beat Connor Lamb, the centrists on the left were fucking furious.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, you had in that Pennsylvania race, you had Fetterman first, Oz second, third was other, and then you had like 3 other candidates who got at least 5,000 or 6,000 votes each. Those people are probably centrist Democrats who are like, I'm not going to vote for Fetterman. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And one little fact about progressives that you might not know is that progressives are the second highest voting demographic there is. By barely we lose to the so-called faith and flag Republicans.
Yeah.
Right? Like the far right evangelicals, they're the most active voting bloc. They vote. Don't quote me on these percentages because I haven't looked these up since we did I literally cited these on a show in fact, I did a show. You guys can go back and look at it. It's on YouTube, youtube.com/dig on America. I did a dig, the history on the 2016 election. So I think it's called Why Hillary Lost, right?
Yeah.
And it was a response to all these left, center left people who were blaming me. And this, we literally got called a right-wing tool because they're like, oh, well, you actually work for the right wing. You don't work for Democrats. Hillary's right about everything, and it's like they literally blame us for that. But but you can go back and watch that video. I break it down into brass tacks over on the YouTube channel. So, where the point I was about to make though is, so don't quote me on the percentages here because I'm going off memory, but on that show I had them right. I want to say it was like 87% of evangelical faith and flag patriots vote.
Yeah.
Progressives are like 84 or 85%.
Yeah.
Moderate Democrats, like your Biden Democrat.
Oh yeah, they call themselves centrists. It's like
they voted
40%.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, it's almost none, but they always want us to fall in line with them. I mean, here, past shelf date said, are progressives committed to fighting all out in the primaries and then supporting whatever Democratic candidate comes out of the primaries? We fucking do it every goddamn election.
Yes.
What are you talking about? We did it for Hillary. We did it for Biden. We keep oops, sorry, I keep trying to hide it. We keep doing it. And then you guys are like, well, we just can't trust you though. We keep doing it. We keep voting for your people who suck. Yes. I'm sorry they do. Like Hillary was a bad candidate. We only ran her because it was her time. I would have loved a woman president, but she wasn't good and she wasn't exciting. Nobody wanted her. Same with Biden. The only reason, literally, the only reason that Biden won, that Captain Diet Water won, is because we hated Trump so much that everyone was like, holy shit, well, I don't want to live in a Christo-fascist country, so we have to stop this now. That's it. That we do it all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
In state races,
Biden would not
in
be
national
elected.
races.
Biden would
No.
not have got elected without progressives.
No, Biden is the worst. I'm sorry.
The idea,
everybody up there, he was literally the worst.
right.
And
now,
we
now
hold
hold
our
on.
nose.
Let's break down what she just said. She didn't say Biden is the worst president ever or anything like that. Because
No.
I think that we'll agree that Biden has actually governed more liberally than we thought he would, right?
Yes.
He's actually been a president of policy. We'll give credit for that. But of the candidates on that stage, with a couple of exceptions, I think in hindsight, Andrew Yang probably would have been a bad choice. And Tulsi Gabbard clearly would have also been a bad choice. And Bloomberg, we knew he was a bad choice from the beginning, right?
Yes.
So with those exceptions, I would have picked Swalwell, who I also am not a fan of, Kamala. I'm not sure I would have gone with
I would have gone with Warren. I loved Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren for sure. But who is the author? Who is the author? Love and Cuddles and Bunnies.
Marianne
Williamson.
Yes.
Yeah. Not sure I would have wanted to vote for her. But the thing is, I would have voted. But like Biden was in, I'll say this. Lindsay's entitled to her opinion. Mine is he was in the lower half of the ones like. As far as like, if I'm just picking, if it was me and I walked up to that stage when there was 19 of them up there and I said, okay, I pick you, right? It wouldn't have been Biden that I would have picked.
Oh, he wasn't in my top 5 ever.
Right. But we voted for him because he won the primary, and that's what the primaries are for. And the idea that a progressive running against an incumbent centrist Democrat or a corporate Democrat, whatever you want to call him, during the primary is then somehow going to lead a movement to take that person out and vote for the Republican instead, or vote for the Libertarian candidate, is totally false and made up by the center left. And the numbers prove it. And the fact that people think that is going on just shows that people believe fucking the Pelosi camp.
Oh, see, I want to Pat Shelf Date. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna have this out. So Pat Shelf Date said, if no one wanted Hillary or Joe, they couldn't have been nominated. Please don't call other people nobodies. No. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what Democrats always do. And I said this before, is they pick their candidate. Like the structural Democratic Party picks their candidate. It was Hillary. From the moment anybody said go, the Democratic Party said,
that's why Biden didn't run.
That's all we heard was it is her time. And from MSNBC, CNN, like every single news station, it was only Hillary. We've got to have Hillary. And that works. And that works. Saying that over and over and over and over again. I had friends of, all over the Democratic spectrum who supported all different people during the primaries. And after a month of that, they're like, well, God, it's got to just be Hillary. They keep telling everybody who's an authority, everybody who knows how this is going says it's got to be Hillary. So we've just got to support her. That's what they do. They get the candidate that they want because from the primaries, Bernie was killing it. Hillary had the shittiest showing in the early primaries, but the party wanted her. So she was the candidate. So they made it happen. Same thing happened with Biden. Biden had his debate performances were horrific, embarrassing, and he had terrible showings at the early primaries. But the message from Go was, it's got to be Biden. It's got to be Biden. He's the only one who can beat Trump. It's got to be Biden. It's got to be Biden. It's got to be Biden. Day in and day out, the whole news cycle, every single day, 24/7. And so that is the message. People believe that. If you know what I've learned on TikTok? If you say anything enough and confidently, people believe you. People believe you. And so that's all they do. They figured that out years ago. So they say it again and again and again. And Republicans figured that out 50 years ago. They say it again and again and again and again confidently until that is the only narrative. And if you say anything else, you're crazy. Why would you say it? We've been talking about 2 months about how Biden's the only one. And that's how we get where we are. So it's not that they were the best candidate. They sure as shit were not. But when you constantly repeat a narrative and the people with money constantly repeat a narrative, people believe it. People believe it because people don't have the time to constantly look at every aspect of every person. And so they're like, they told me it's got to be Hillary, so it's got to be Hillary.
Yeah. You tell people that the election was stolen over and over, and then they storm the Capitol.
Yeah.
And Bill, here's what I want you to think about past shelf date. Here's what I want you to think about. And look, I know that I have to, you know, I know that you're autistic, and I know that like I need to communicate in a certain way, and I apologize. I don't always do that. But your first sentence that you just wrote in your most recent response here was, maybe it's just that I don't see some things such as raising the minimum wage as only a progressive issue. Think about what you just wrote. Think about the fact that that wins everywhere, every single time it's on a ballot. Look up 2018 when it passed the ballot initiative in Arkansas and Alabama. Look up, I forget what state it was just this week, but another red state had a ballot initiative for raising their minimum wage, like $4. It passed overwhelmingly. So think about what you just said as you don't think that that's a progressive issue only. And then ask yourself, why don't we have it?
Yeah.
Because the people who are in office on the Democratic side have introduced that bill precisely 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm not just talking to the centrist Democrats here. AOC, Ilhan Omar, you haven't introduced shit either.
No.
So AOC, and I've said this 100 times in this show, I love Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think the way that she gets attacked and unfairly treated is terrible. But here's a fucking novel idea, and maybe I shouldn't say it because the white guy telling you what to do, but I'm going to say it anyway. Write some fucking legislation for once, right? Like I understand that no one's going to co-sign with you from the right because it'd be a career killer. I understand that, and I know that you understand that. But write the policy out. Say, here's the policy, and then publish it or something. I don't know, but you have to have a co-sponsor from the right. Otherwise, I know it'll never go through, right? Because if you don't have a co-sponsor from the right, you need a super majority to pass it. You can't get through with a simple majority. I get that. But a simple legislation that says, hey, you know what? Here's legislation authored by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or whomever. Rashida Tlaib has written policy. She has written bills. So I can't include her in this. But most of them haven't. Ro Khanna, when's the last time you wrote some shit? Mm-mm. But they're just afraid.
They make really impassioned speeches on the floor, but they don't actually. I agree with you. Like they don't actually do things. And I know it's futile. Like you said, it's not going to pass. We all know it's not going to pass. But then you can say, I'm trying. And look, the Republicans won't work with me. The problem is the Republicans. It's not that I can't do this. It's that I'm not able to do it because of the Republicans. Because Republicans do that shit all the time. Like, God damn it. They've given us the playbook. I don't understand why we don't use it. You write the legislation and you go, I'm trying. This is the Republicans' fault. I don't know why we never do that. I don't know why we never do that.
I don't know either. Well, it's because the DNC, I do, because I've interviewed enough candidates to know that the DNC is too worried about upsetting their donors.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The DNC and the DCCC are fucking ridiculously worried about upsetting their donors. And who is it? The head of the DNC got routed in his race when he ran for Congress. What egg on his face.
Well, and that's why I said the Democratic Party is the one inhibiting the progressives. It's not the Republicans. They don't even use, like, a lot of times they don't even get to the point where they can go against the Republicans where there would be a stark contrast and people could actually vote for populist policies. We don't even get there because the Democratic Party shuts it down because their donors, they're big money donors who want to keep riding the gravy train. This comment says, y'all need unions. There is not a truer statement that has been said this night.
And you know what, let me say this about unions too, right? Like, so I was a Teamster and I was in a terrible fucking union, right? Like Mikey was in the UCFW, Food Commercial Workers Union, terrible fucking union, right? But we're both very careful to say that just because we were in bad unions, that does not mean all unions are bad or that we should not support unions, right? Like, think about it. If you work for a private company that is not union and you have a shitty boss, do you say, man, all non-union companies fucking suck balls? Nobody ever said that.
Yeah.
So why is it that we have a tendency, just like we talked before about race, why do we have a tendency to conflate bad unions with to conflate all unions with like the 6 or 7 bad ones?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I live in a state we don't have, well, there are some unions. I mean, teachers union, cops have a union, but as a nurse in this state, we are getting fucked over big time. And like, we desperately need unions. It's like healthcare here is dangerous. I know I'm not supposed to say that. We're supposed to say everything's fine. If you're going to the hospital, you're going to get fucked. It's bad right now. It's really, really bad. And we're going into a bad respiratory season and our ratios are terrible. They're giving us they don't have enough nurses and they refuse to hire more because it's costing them money. And so we don't have enough nurses to adequately take care of our patients. And so our ratios are bad, like bad. Like mistakes are being made. Like serious mistakes. And there's investigations. We fucking need a union. People are going to lose their licenses. Because hospitals don't take responsibility for that anymore. So it is going to be put on the nurse for being in that bad situation that they didn't create, that the hospital created. And the nurses are going to get fired. They're going to lose their licenses. And so I would take the shittiest union over no union because I have no protections right now.
Exactly correct. And, a couple states put through like workers' rights. I don't know if the one in Illinois passed, but they had like a workers' rights law that passed. And like, I don't even live in Illinois anymore. I probably got like 11 text messages about this because I used to live in Illinois. Let me see if I'm sure I can pull one up and I think I deleted a lot of them, but let's see. This would have, when did we vote? The 8th. So these texts would have come through. Oh yeah, here. Okay. Text message that I got, right? And there was many of these.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Rob. I'm alerting fellow conservatives to vote no on the radical progressive workers' rights movement on your ballot this Tuesday. Endorsed by Pritzker and the Chicago Teachers Union. And then it talks, the other text said something about, here we go. This is Emma. Your friends and family need to know the truth about the so-called workers' rights amendment. It only applies to government unions. That's false. Does not apply to private sector unions. Again, false. You made the same statement twice. Empowers government unions to void 350 state laws, including 11 laws protecting children in DCFS, like background checks and bans on employees deemed, quote, sexually dangerous. So these are the types of anti-union and anti-workers' right. Basically what that law was saying, and I don't know if it passed, it was codifying into the Illinois Constitution the right for workers to unionize and not basically saying that Illinois cannot be a right to work state. So they bring the children into it.
Yeah. Always.
And there's literally nothing in that legislation about children. But what they did is they said, well, they made up a totally hypothetical situation out of blue air. And then it went out of thin air and it went all over social media as being something that was literally happening. And let me tell you what it was. And I'm paraphrasing here, so let me construct my thoughts. They said, if, for example, DCFS decided to unionize. Then after they unionize, they could introduce a law or they could introduce a condition of their union contract that they could negotiate for that would say that that we don't want to be subject to background checks for sex crimes. And if the company or the state were to say no to that, then they could go on strike for that. They totally made that fucking conversation up out of fucking thin air.
Nothing.
And said, oh, you know what? In this fucking dystopian future, that's like me saying, you know what? Handmaid's Tale is totally fucking real. Gilead exists. Now, metaphorically speaking, that might be true, right?
Yeah.
But literally
we call
speaking,
it Idaho right now. But.
right? But you know what I mean? Like literally speaking, it's not true. Like it'd be like me saying, well, because they have this, we could secede from, like California could secede from the union and start its own socialist state if we elect Gavin Newsom. And then the media runs with it and said, there's conversations about California
and
becoming a communist country.
That's how they say it, is there were conversations. Well, dude, it could have been like just two of your people just absolutely coming up with the most inane scenario they could think of. Yeah, no, and but that's what
they advertise it as being real, and that's why the right is better at messaging. Not to say the left should message,
well,
because
they just make shit up because they don't care, because we all just forget about it. It's just like, so in Pride, like for Pride in Boise, there was going to be a kids drag show, and it was 5 teenagers who were going to do, like, 2 of them had sewed outfits, wanted to wear them. It was like a fashion show. That's it. And they've done it before around town. Like, you can go and see it. Like, they just like walk up and walk back. They do it with their parents. Like, their parents are there. It's a very just like, is no different than a pageant,
a Halloween costume.
Halloween costume. I'm like, I don't know, like a dance. Some of them kind of dance, but like not like maybe a dance performance, like in a parade where they like sort of dance, but they're mostly just walking. Anyway, it's happened a lot of times. So what happened was this Pride, some of the far right people up in North Idaho, Chris Rufo was one of them too, because he has a huge following on Gab and different places. Anyway, and he was like, look at this, they're having children do drag, and made it this huge, they're going to be stripping and on poles and like taking tips from grown-ups, and it's this whole horrible thing. And that got picked up by libs of TikTok all over, and it's just national news. Not even based in any reality at all of what the event is. And it just became this huge issue with sponsors pulling out. Like, everyone knew what this was in this community. This has happened every single year. It's not a big deal. It's kids in a fashion show, and we just call it a kids drag show. But it blew up and became this huge issue. And they were like, they're grooming them. It's like this, like, they said the most random, horrible, like completely false things. And we had to spend so much time trying to pick that up and to counter that narrative. But they'd already run with it. It became like armed people came to Pride. They had to cancel the show for the kids' safety. And that's what they always do, is they lie about something. And then it doesn't matter if that's a lie, because their consequences are what? Like, what can we do? Like you guys lied. Okay, well, we got the response we wanted. Like, and that's what the right always does.
I don't even need to be on this show. I truly don't, because like that is precisely correct. But here's the funny thing. The right can say whatever they want and have no repercussions whatsoever.
Yeah.
When you were talking, you weren't directly talking about this, but I want to pull up an article from Fox News. Okay. Don't ever say that I'm so biased that I won't show a Fox News story.
Okay, yeah.
And by the way, they were calling again for people to be fired from Fox News for correctly gendering someone.
Oh my God.
on the anchor on Fox News said people went fucking ballistic. Like, oh, how dare you promote boys being girls? You know, you're a groom. And they're like, but anyway, Carrie Lake, would you, I'll tell you what, you want to, I don't know if you've seen this, so I'd like you to read this. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you here.
I would say it's all real small.
Yeah, you hit the little square in the bottom of the screen on our screen where you see us talking.
Oh,
and it'll make everything way bigger.
Aha, perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So let me make it a little bit bigger for you still, because I don't want to see Lauren Bolbert here. Okay, here we go. You should.
Okay,
so do me a favor and read this. Actually, here, read these two, if you would, please.
Perfect.
These two paragraphs.
Lake, a former local TV journalist known for her barbs against the press, lit into a CBS reporter after he asked if she would serve a full term if elected, noting political rumors that she would be Donald Trump's running mate if he runs for president in 2024. I'm going to not only be the governor of Arizona for 4 years, she said, I'm going to do 2 terms. I'm going to be your worst freaking nightmare for 8 years, and we will reform the media as well. We're going to make you guys into journalists again.
How does that strike you? Because I could have sworn the First Amendment gives us the right to a free press. And I could have sworn that Carrie Lake loves the fucking Constitution, and especially the First Amendment, except maybe the Second Amendment a little bit more. The First Amendment is like her number one thing. You're going to reform the media? That sounds an awful lot like communism to me.
It's authoritarianism.
But they love it. Well,
of course they do.
You're of course you're right. It's authoritarianism, not communism. I'm using
they're
conservative
words.
speak here because they think authoritarianism and communism are the same thing because they're fucking morons.
No, but that's a narrative they're starting to put. Like, they've been very open about this for over the past, well, technically a while, but much more open over the past 6 months, that they don't actually want us. They're trying to diminish the role of democracy, and they are calling for authoritarianism. At least I know in Idaho, political figures are saying no, like, you know, too much freedom. Don't die, Dash. I can't. I
have to vape. I have to vape now. They're just outlawed the fucking vape juice in California. Okay. Quick segue. California, This is an example of you going too far, you motherfuckers. Okay, taking away my fucking flavored vape juice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continue.
Uh-oh. So the government got into your body. How does that feel?
Yeah, I feel like a woman now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait,
it's kind of a bummer,
sorry.
huh?
That's gender, gender affirmation. I'm a total left winger now.
Oh my gosh, I know. Watch those snowflakes just crumble. But God, I can't even remember what I was saying. Something. I don't know. You turned into a woman, and I just didn't know what to do.
No, we were talking about Carrie Lake and her with the media.
Oh yeah, and the blatant authoritarianism. Thank you. But they are being very open about that now. Like, we have someone who is running for office here in Idaho who has said, he's like, no, you can call me a Christian nationalist all day long. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I think it is my moral duty to force you guys to live Christianity. And he's like, you can call that whatever you want. That I will fight day and night to make that happen. Like, he's not the only one.
It's called Sharia law.
They're being very, very open and honest about the fact that that's what they want.
They want Sharia law. I can't understand why they hate Muslim theocratic government so much, because that's exactly what they want to model us after.
Yeah. They just don't want theocratic governments where they don't get to be in charge. That's all they don't like. They talk a good game about freedom, but just how they're diminishing democracy and saying we're just a republic, which is the dumbest shit in the entire world. They obviously don't understand that democracy falls under the banner of being in a republic and being a representative government. Like, that's part of what it is anyway. But But that's what they're trying. They do want authoritarianism. They loved a taste of that with Trump. That's what they want. They just want it to be forcing everyone to do what they like.
Again, exactly right. It's
potato. Oh my gosh, this is a great comment. Sorry. It's in Idaho. It's probably called potato lot. I am gonna start calling it that because that's kind of clever. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Russet. This is what makes me so fucking irritated. Is like AOC dances on a ceiling in college, or not on the ceiling. She's not Lionel Richie.
Whoa, Dutch.
Yeah, she's not
showing your age there.
Yeah, she's not. Hey, I love. Oh, what a feeling when I'm dancing. Hey, you knew how old he was, so. But here's a reference for you kids. He's not Andrew Garfield, okay? Tag on the ceiling, the Spider-Man. But by the way, I didn't get to go see Black Panther today. I'm pissed. I'm going tomorrow. First fucking thing. But like AOC dances on a rooftop in college for a fundraiser, and it follows her forever.
Yeah.
These guys can literally, like, Matt Gaetz can sleep with underage women allegedly
and bring them across state lines.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Again, we're sprinkling allegedly on this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, totally allegedly. But like, it's, they can, Carrie Lake can say, you know what? No, we're gonna like, basically what she's, the quiet part out loud there. Well, she didn't say it out loud. So the quiet part of that is, that's kind of out loud, is, we're going to regulate the shit out of the media. In fact, we might even take the media over and make it public. Because I don't see what else could she possibly do other than passing laws to control the media.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and they've been discrediting the media since early Trump days.
And you know what? I believe in the First Amendment. This is a media network. I support your right to criticize the media. What I don't support is your right to, like, they're always talking about cancel culture. I'm trying to figure out how that's different.
Yeah.
How dare you censor right-wing voices?
They love cancel culture when they're the ones canceling. If they're getting canceled, then it's unfair, it's anti-American, anti-First Amendment. But if they get to do it, it was for God and country and children. So
it's because and this is the thing, and Lindsay and I can probably speak on this better than most people can, because we're from very, very not evangelical in her case, but very, very religious backgrounds, like Christian backgrounds. And like, they've got this caveat, especially with people like Boebert or Lake or Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, even though I don't believe for a second that any of them actually lives a Christian lifestyle, or
MTG's like sleeping with everybody, which I don't care.
No.
Except for then she's like, you've got to be a Christian. And I'm like, girl, what? Like, I don't, and that's the thing where everyone's like, you can't say anything about what they do. And I'm like, no, but it's the hypocrisy for me. I don't care. Except for she's being a total hypocrite about it. So it's the Serena joy of it all.
The examples of the right wing being hypocrites is like, that's a never ending well. But the point of the matter is like, they have this like it's written, but they have this idea that, like, as long as you're doing something in the name of the Lord, it doesn't matter what it is. You can burn down Jericho and kill children, but the Lord said it was okay, so that's fine. So like, that's how they justify stuff like right, exactly. Tons of Mice. Thank you for joining Tons of Mice. But hey, About to Sleep, how you doing? My Twitter friend. I love About to Sleep. Thank you so much for joining the stream. This fucking person, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, retweets everything, and I fucking love you.
Oh, thank you.
You
We
gotta
appreciate that.
also follow Lindsay's account at socialistly AKWD.
I'll put it.
Socialistly.
I know I
Yeah,
couldn't get Twitter wouldn't let me have enough characters.
Yeah, she'll put it in the chat. So everybody go follow Lindsay's account. If you're not following our Twitter account, follow that too at Dig on America. We've lost like 200 followers in the last few weeks because of the Elon purge. Probably bots, but who cares if they're bots? Actually, it's probably closer to 300. But again, the point is, if you're doing something to push us closer to God, there really is no limit to what you can do in those circles, as long as they feel like it's holy, and that's super fucking dangerous, because
or
they
feel
literally,
like it's justified. The ends justify the means.
right? I mean, you guys are not going to get lucky enough today to hear from this book, right? But this is
that was a journey.
This is a history book, guys, and those who haven't seen this before, this is a literal history book from a Christian's from private schools, and like I could read you from that, and like they justify horrible atrocities and just say, you know what, let's talk about why God allowed this to happen in a school history book. You know, it's just nauseating to me that they, you know, they'll say like, well, let me give you an example. You know, we killed a lot of Native Americans, but it was the manifest destiny to create a nation that would be God's nation, and therefore that's why it's good. You know, so all of the killing of Native Americans, all of the slavery, all of the way that we interned Japanese people, stuff like that, all of that, yeah, it might have been a bad thing, but it was done for a good reason, and now we have freedom because this is God's country.
Exactly. That it was, I mean, that's how I was raised. That it was like, I mean, I was raised Mormon, so there was extra flavors of super racism. But that was like, I was taught at church and school that yes, we killed all of these indigenous people and genocided them. And then Mormonism makes it extra spicy by saying that's actually the curse of God for what their ancestors did. So that's, you know, wildly upsetting.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna answer him from my go ahead.
But that's what I was taught, is that it was justified so that we could have this country. Well, and as a Mormon, I was taught it was justified so that we could have this country, so that there could be Mormonism again. So all of these people had to die. There had to be slavery. You know, all of these things had to happen so that white people could have polygamy, basically. But like in school, I was taught a similar story that like, yes, we did these terrible things to indigenous people, and yes, there was a slave trade, but also we got liberty. So you know what? Like, it was probably a good deal, to be honest. So like, that's the narrative I grew up with.
It is. And that's why, like, when I was talking about earlier that my son was like singing these patriotic songs and praying for America and like talking about how great our country was and all this stuff. Like, I let him have that, right? Like, I didn't go and say, no, now son, you know, America actually sucks. Even though, you know, there are things
I have taught my children.
Yeah. But at some point in time, I will have the conversation with him that's like, because he'll bring this stuff up and I'll be like, well, you know, we've done a lot of bad things in this country, and you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about it because they think that talking about the bad stuff means that you hate it. And I'm going to ask my son, I'm going to say, well, let me tell you something. Like, if you do something bad and I tell you now, son, don't do that, does that mean that I don't love you? And he'll say, no, it means that you love me. And I'll say exactly. And that's the same thing for our country, right? Like, if I truly love America, and then when I see her wrong, I will tell her, I will criticize that wrong because I love her so much. I want her to do better.
Exactly. I have
Simple.
kind of told my kids like, we're like, So my third grader,
We're in the middle. We won the bronze.
You know what? Like, no, I'm not gonna talk us up. That's for damn sure. But so my third grader had to do. They were like talking about symbols and I think cuneiform stuff like that at a very like third grade level, and so they had to draw a symbol that like was important or like showed like free. I think it was supposed to be like freedom-y or something. And we had parent-teacher conferences, and his teacher was like, he drew a maple leaf, and he's like, "Yeah, I love Canada. They're free." And I was like, my husband just looked at me. I was like, it's working. He's not wrong. Like,
No.
They get a B+ at least. So anyway, my third grader is drawing maple leaves as his symbol of freedom. So.
Canada gets a lot of shit right.
Oh, past shelf date. I have a 13-year-old. So I'm older than I look, and I was Mormon, so I had babies when I was basically still a baby.
I'm typing in your Twitter right now. Fine. You can keep talking. I'm busy.
Canada's less free than this. I would disagree. I think how free. So like 60% of people that file for bankruptcy, it's a major component of that is medical debt. So how free are you if you're filing bankruptcy because of medical debt? Because Canadians don't do that.
Thanks, Reed Stars. I feel like I look good for almost 50 years old.
There was another.
Which comment are you reading?
Oh, Mormons are interesting. Their squad rolls deep. That's accurate.
Yes, that is.
Yep.
Look, the only thing here's my problem with Canada. I'm going to tell you what your problem is in Canada. We said this actually like 2 weeks ago, and you fucking monsters up there are monsters for this. You keep Poutine all to your fucking self, you assholes. Okay, release the Poutine to the public. Let us know what it is, because people, once you have Poutine or Poutine, I'm not sure if there's an N in there or not poontang. Okay, Poutine. It is lovely. It is like, do you know what poutine is?
Yeah, I've had it.
LIndsay?
It's like it's not.
Oh,
great.
she hates Canada.
I know. Oh my God, this is how rumors get started. No, I just don't love poutine so much. I like hockey. That's more Canadian.
Do you like Randy Horton's donuts?
I've never had that.
I've had a Randy
Horton's.
Horton's. I was
Isn't
in
it
Toronto.
Tim Hortons? Who is Randy Horton?
Tim Hortons. Right.
Who the fuck is Randy?
Yeah, Randy's his younger brother.
Oh, somebody said, was this when I said Canadians don't file for bankruptcy because of medical debt?
Oh, you assholes did give us Jordan Peterson. That's right.
Oh, yeah. What the hell?
I can live with Drake and Justin Bieber, but I can't live with Jordan Peterson. Like, people actually think Jordan Peterson is like slightly on the left.
No, absolutely not.
But they think that. They're like,
I know,
he's
no,
really fucking reasonable.
Okay, so here's why I think they think that. Because he does that like intellectualizing thing where he's like, let me kind of tell you a story and then intellectualize, and he just like, it's absolutely made up. Like, he just pulls shit out of his ass, but he kind of intellectualizes it. And then he'll say things like, he'll be like, okay, well, so the feminists aren't all the way wrong, and someone's like, so he's a leftist. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is a way to like market what he's selling you.
Yeah. And you know who else does that now? And it's really pissed me off because I used to love him, is fucking Bill Maher.
Oh, Bill Maher is a mess.
Yeah, he's become intolerable. He'll be the next one to go the Tulsi Gabbard route. Watch.
Yeah.
Like, his disdain for the left is like, for the what we call the far left. Bill Maher's disdain for the left has become pretty salient. It's there. It's palatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I meant palatable when I said salient, but I don't know how I confuse those words. But nonetheless, I'm an idiot. So but like, like he rips on the right. Like obviously he's no fan of Trump or MAGA or anything like that, but he's just like such a fucking a homer for, you know, centrist Democrats. It's like, and so against, like he'll lampoon like Trump and then lampoon Bernie in the exact same sentence as if they're equal.
Yeah. Oh, and that's, they like making those things seem equal, I think is so much more devastating, because MAGA will just be like, you know, they'll just say something completely outrageous, but trying to kind of intellectualize it and hold them as equitable, I think is incredibly damaging, because then it's that stupid, both parties are the same. No, one is a slap to the face, one is a, you know, shotgun blast to the face. It's not the same.
Yeah. And actually, Flo said, you raised a pretty good point. Like I'm not a fan of any of the late night hosts. I do think Fallon has some funny bits. I think Kimmel has some funny bits. The rest of them, I don't. But like, it wasn't that long ago that Fallon was with Carolla on the Man Show, and that was like the most right-wing show of all time. You know, and did I watch the Man Show? Yes, I loved the fucking Man Show. I also happened to have been a conservative at the time. So like, you know, like, and it's not like I went back and like pretend it's not, some of the stuff wasn't funny to me then, but like Kimmel, like, and like, it's fine. Like maybe Kimmel's more liberal now than he was back then. But the problem with Kimmel is, like, I have come out and said 1,000 times, you can probably even go back to our old podcast, Voice from the Underground, and find those videos online. And the audio is certainly still up on Spotify and everything when we used to be audio only, and find things that I said in 2017 that I totally don't even agree with today, you know?
Oh yeah.
And like, I'll own those things. I'll be like, yeah, you know what? At the time I believed that, you know, I used to be against minimum wage, for example, you know, and then after multiple conversations with economists, I said, oh, you know what? I actually am wrong. So, hey, you know what? I spent 30 fucking years of my life thinking that a minimum wage was not the way to go, because I believed the narrative that if that a rich business owner would just, because they're they have to be a good person because they're a good business owner. So
yeah, and they're
smart.
Just
pay their people more. You know?
Yeah, we just assume like these people who own these businesses or have been successful, they're just really smart. They're smarter than us. That's why they don't do that, is they have some really, really intellectual, smart, businessy reason why they don't do it. Not just like, well, because they want to buy a vacation home. That's why they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, Here I've got some questions. I'll try to answer them. Somebody asked if I'm married to a Canuck. No, I am not. He's an American. He's always been an American. But during the Trump years, we actively were like, okay, if we've got to make a getaway. I've been very vocal about my stances on things, which is not always safe in Idaho and potentially not in the US sometimes. And so we always we joked about like, okay, if we have to run to Canada because they need nurses and I can do that. So our kids heard stuff like that occasionally. So they think that Canada's like the safe place. Like, so anyway.
Well, and let me just backtrack that statement real quick. So LIndsay, not married, totally single. And for a $500 donation, you know, she might wink at you. So
oh my God.
Yeah. No, but like we had, and it's funny that you say that, because like we were talking about this, like, if you go, those of you who watch the Wednesday show, you know, Attorney Anna, all of the women of Dig on America are beautiful women, inside and out. But Attorney Anna is obviously a very beautiful woman. And she was like, should I tell people that I'm in a relationship, or should I tell them like, and I'm like, look, you'll probably get more views if people think you're single.
I mean, that's true.
You know, thirst traps are like, it was terrible what happened to Amaranth, but like, thirst traps are a thing. You know, there are people on Twitch right now who are literally sitting there in a bikini giving out health advice or whatever advice that they're getting, and people are not watching them for the health advice. They're watching them for the bikini, and that's fine.
No.
You know, but like, I literally had that chat with her, and she was like, okay, well, whatever. And I'm like, just say whatever the fuck you want to say, right? Like, Kim talks about her husband all the time. You talk about yours all the time. But so I always make that joke. I'm like, every time that one of our female hosts mentioned that they're in a relationship or they're married,
that number
we lose
drops
like
from
30. Yeah.
in fact, 2.
I think we actually just did lose a follower, like literally like a few seconds ago. Because I'm telling you right now, we were just at 180 followers and now we're at 179. But
I need about like 5 more really, really terrible shifts at the hospital and then like maybe OnlyFans. So we're not unionized, so it could be next week. I'm just like.
And the exclusive for the OnlyFans premiere will be right here. Sunday, 8 p.m. John Cena.
Lindsay's had enough. Lindsay's had enough. She's sick of selling her body to the hospital.
She will show her toes on stream. Like, did you know that that's against terms of service?
Showing your toes?
I think I can, but you cannot show your feet on stream.
Well, first it's nipples, now it's toes. Like what? What is this?
I think Twitch is more in favor of the nipple than they are the toe.
You know what? I can't explain it, but here we are. Like, what's going on? It's default, y'all. It's late here. It's late. So that's where we are. We're talking about toes, man toes and lady toes, and what toes can be shown.
Yeah, that's actually a real thing. Like, yeah, it's, believe it or not.
That's fascism.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think it was, I don't know the reasoning behind it. I think it was because like someone got stalked or something like that. But again, she's in Idaho, Lindsay. So going barefoot is not an option.
Not right now.
Yeah. And so if pictures of, Ugg boots or something that you're into, maybe you'll get those.
I'm finding out more and more things. I subscribe to somebody on TikTok who like will show stuff and be like, actually, guys, this is like, this is like kink stuff. And it's like cooking stuff. I had no idea. I am oblivious. I had no idea. So
no, you know what one of the biggest Twitch streamers does? And I'm not shaming the girl. It disappoints me that America likes to watch this, but like literally it's a young lady. There's actually more than one of them who has a microphone shaped like an ear, and she licks it for hours on stream and has tens of thousands of people watching.
What?
Yeah, and like I told my wife, like, because my wife is a very beautiful woman. Why I have her, I have no idea. But like, and she's always talking about like she's one of those women who she'll walk through the store in flip flops or high heels, and like men will just walk up to her and say, "My God, you have beautiful feet." Like it happens to her all the time. She'll like, I got another foot comment today, and I was like, we should just start a Twitch a stream on Twitter or something, and just call it Melissa's Sexy Toes. And well, I'm like, I'm just gonna sit there and take a video of your toes, and we'll just put it on Twitch. And you'll have like 60,000 subscribers in like 2 weeks, because men are
probably
fucking monsters. Like men are so bad. Like I appreciate a woman in high heels very much. I'm a man. I can't turn that part of me off. But if you think I'm going to sit there and watch that on stream,
people are wild. Sometimes I think the internet was a mistake, and some of these things were all just supposed to stay thoughts. So anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. It's foot stuff is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Probably get banned.
We have to say ASMR. Okay, ASMR is different. I love it. ASMR is how I go to sleep at night. I can't fall asleep unless I've like watched some ASMR. So that's
okay.
Different.
I have to admit my age here. I don't know what that acronym stands for. Is that
okay? It's like
pseudomasochism?
No.
That's not what the SM.
You think I would say like I can't go to sleep without that? Like what the hell, Dutch?
I'm not here to kink shame you.
No, it's like I can't remember something. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's just like that like you get the little brain tingles, like if somebody's typing on a keyboard, or like whispers, and like we probably got more followers now if I just whisper. But you get like the little brain tingles, and it's like really relaxing. That's, I don't know where this comment was. That's all ASMR is. So people like whisper and like clink bottles, or like do like stuff like that with their fingernails. Anyway, that's ASMR.
So I'll tell you what we're gonna do. From now on, I'm gonna put it in the tag. We'll give 30 seconds of ASMR every single show.
Oh yeah, I could just like.
All right, here you go. Here's your 30 seconds. Go.
We don't have the right microphones for this. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to our show. Thanks everybody. Stop.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Smash that like button.
This is like, you know, for some reason we don't get these moments on Leftist Late Night. This is up there. This is up there with the. Someone's got to clip that, please. Tons, you have to clip that. This is like the hair sniff, right? Like it's just.
Yes, the ASMR moment. We could open with that, like just a nice ASMR before, or like we could close out with that. Like, now we got you all riled up. Now we're gonna leave you with a little like ASMR. Like, here, I'll bring my microphone over. We can get like clicks. I can't really hear that. Anyway, there's really good ones.
No,
so.
the tapping the can was good. Though I'm disappointed that it wasn't liquor.
It was what? Oh,
that
no.
You weren't drinking liquor.
No, Dutch, if I drink, I just go to sleep. I'm old.
Is that Coke Zero?
Yeah.
You're in the Coke Zero gang. I am totally in the Coke Zero gang over Diet Coke. It is incrementally better.
I think it tastes a little better. I agree.
Yeah, and my new favorite right now is if you haven't tried it, chat, shameless plug, not diet, Wild Cherry Pepsi Zero is real good. I don't care for the Cherry Coke Zero as much as I do the Wild Cherry Pepsi Zero. It is very, very, very nice. Try to do no carbs. I have been off the no carb now for about 4 months. I still drink diet, like soda and pop and, you know, Gatorade and stuff like that.
I say Coke Zero and water.
But I have to get back on it because I stopped doing no carb, like keto, semi keto, in June, and since then, immediately put on 15 fucking pounds. It's like my metabolism is like I lose and gain weight faster than anybody you've ever fucking met. I in 2018 I was 300 pounds in the beginning of the year. By July I was 220. You know, and so
how does that male privilege feel?
That is absolutely that, because Melissa was trying to go from like 250 to like 245. She's like, oh, my goal weight's 245. I'm so fat. I'm like, you're not fat at all. You're like 250 pounds. And she's like, oh no, 245, 242 is my goal. And like, I was at 80 pounds down and she was at like 7 pounds down. So it's like, that's just the curse of the female body.
It's about how it goes.
But you know, but Lindsay, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to turn to Mitch McConnell here. This is why we should control your bodies, right? And not you, because if men control your bodies, then you would lose. Think about how much quicker women would be able to lose weight. So maybe Mitch is on something.
Somebody's gonna stitch the clip before and then this one together, and you're gonna get canceled so fast.
But then, but here's the thing: I'd get canceled by the left. I'd be a right wing darling in like 2 days, right? And then we'd have like tens of thousands of people on here. It says leftist streamer turns right wing in the middle of a show. He pulled the opposite of a Candace Owens.
I know. No, you could get that OAN money.
Oh, I don't even think I could ever go that far to the right.
I was gonna say there's probably lots of money in it.
I'm not even sure I could. I maybe if I tried, I could get to Joe Rogan right. But like, OAN
is paying money. People are making bank. If I had way less scruples and morals.
You know what I would like to do? Maybe I'll so someone will have to clip this too and then resurface it later. Because the beauty of Twitch is it goes away, right? It's like kind of like Snapchatty. A few days later, you can't find this anymore. It's on YouTube forever, or until they ban us. But because now YouTube is Elon's probably going to buy that too. Oh, and you know what? I have to bring up Mark Zuckerberg before we get off the show. Remind me, don't let me off the show until I talk to Mark Zuckerberg. But I think what I'll do is
been waiting for that.
I'll flip. Absolutely, he's listening, of course. I'm going to flip to the right, and I'm going to become a right winger, and then I'm going to use that because there's no doubt that I will become famous. Left wingers who become right wingers become immediately fucking famous. Like, look at Joe Rogan. Look at who's the gay dude who used to be on TYT.
You have to be slightly more specific.
The gay dude who used to be on TYT with the brown hair. Who? No, not Milo. I think of
his first name.
Someone in the chat will say it. He used to be on the Young Turks, and now he does podcasts. He's in the intellectual dark web with like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson.
God, why can't I think of his name? I know he's in them.
Ben Shapiro wouldn't go to his wedding and because he's gay. Yeah, Dave Rubin. Thank you.
Rubin.
Thank you, destroyer of words. Dave Rubin is who I'm thinking of. So yeah, read and rap also. So it was Dave Rubin who I was thinking of. So all these guys, they become super famous. But then what I'll do is I'll go on like Mark Levine or OANN, and I'll get in their group and I'll be like I'll bash the left like crazy. I'll tell them all these stories of when I was in the deep state. And then after I make millions, I'll just say, hey, by the way, I was just pretending all that time. And I was trolling you from within. And then they'll be like, oh, he was never with us. We always knew.
We knew there was something wrong with him.
There had to be something. We knew it. Even though we subscribed to everything that you did. Okay.
All right. Now I want to hear about Zuckerberg.
So Zuckerberg lays off like 11 fucking thousand people at Facebook and like WhatsApp and stuff like that. And then he posts. I wonder if I can find the post. And there was something I want to show on Truth Social too, because I skipped over it. So we'll come back to that before we leave. But so Zuckerberg posts in like the press release because, and this came out like you didn't hear as much about it as you did Elon, and Elon laid off way less people than Zuckerberg did.
Yeah.
But Zuckerberg's like in his release, he says, oh, it's my fault. This isn't their fault. It's my fault. And he did lay them off from what I understand. He gave them a good severance. But like, here's what I want to know. If it was your fault, Mark, why didn't you lay yourself off?
No, because he's special.
And see, that's the
leader.
Problem. Yes. And that's one of the key things that I have an issue with when it comes to capitalism. What's the comment?
You can't convince me that Zuck's not a holographic cyborg lizard human hybrid. For real. He's not a human. I refuse to believe it. At least not fully human.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure he started Facebook just to try to pick up women in college. I was in college when it first came out. That was it. That was like you found out people to date because you could only get in with a college email. And that's
all it was finding people to date.
But that's like one of the biggest things that I have with my beefs with capitalism is like, if a business owner fails and they lay off their people, but they're able to save their business, like that kind of gets me a little bit angry because like and I'm not trying to say like people do this on purpose or they're monsters or anything like this for failing, but like the safety net is like only there for them. And like and then when an employee files for like unemployment or whatever, you have people like, well, hurry up, you'll have people will criticize them for like saying, you know what, I'm going to take a week and just kind of chillax before I start going job hunting.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just going to mooch off the government for a week?
Mooch off the system. Yeah. Well, and the issue with that is it points out the hypocrisy that we always say, like, why do CEOs get so much more money? Why should their paychecks be so much? And we say, well, they take all the risk, which is absolute bullshit. No, they don't. Your employees are taking a risk on you. Yeah, I was going to say, and there's 1,000 different ways you can discharge that debt. And so you aren't taking the risk, but the employees are taking a risk on you that you are going to be good at what you're doing, that you're going to be able to run this business and you're going to be able to keep paying them. And more often than not, I mean, the vast majority of businesses fail. So all these employees are taking risks. And then just like you said, when they get fired, when it turns out badly for them, then we look at them and we're like, well, look at them just like taking off the dole. Look at those little welfare queens over there. Instead of saying, because it's not the business owners who take the hit. Or it's like, oh man, yeah, they're out like this initial investment, but there's all these different ways to recoup it. And so it's absolutely a myth that we perpetuate to continue to not pay workers enough.
Again, exactly right. It's I
don't have a problem. I'm 35. I'm way older than I look. I was in college in like 2006.
Hey,
I know, Dutch. I gotta stop saying that. People are gonna just leave when they find out I'm old. But
hey, I can't control these men. Speaking of not being able to control, but let me wrap my thoughts. So like, there's like, it's not like I don't have sympathy for small business owners. Like, right. Like I actually think that if we on the left did a better job of talking about programs like, universal healthcare, single payer, that sort of thing, that if we were able to communicate that message and show the savings to people, like the problem is like Biden and Pelosi don't want it. Like Biden went right on stage and during the debates and said, it's too expensive. He went on stage and said, Bernie doesn't tell you that it's $50 trillion over XYZ years. But he purposely doesn't mention that if we stay on the way that we are right now, it's $60 trillion, right? So like, it's literally $10 trillion less to do it that way with no loss, if not a gain in quality, or an estimated quality, I should say. But like a small business owner, your local plumber, your local florist, they literally cannot compete with your Amazons and stuff of the world because they don't have the buying power to buy insurance on a scale that these bigger companies do. They can't give you they can't give you more pay. In a lot of cases, they might even want to, but if they want to be able to offer health insurance, they can't. Because they can't give you, they can offer you health insurance, but like a lot of times they don't because, or can't get it as good because, and a lot of times when they can't get it as good, it's really not their fault. They got the best one that they can negotiate. Right.
Yeah.
But the, so that's on the insurance company, but like, how much more competitive small businesses would be if we had a single payer system?
Oh, and how much of a savings that would be for them. I don't know why the Dems never go with that messaging. Like the savings will, like I've calculated it. I could pay significantly more in taxes and I would still come out ahead. I'm paying so much. I'm paying like $15,000 a year for health insurance with a big hospital. So it's supposed to be like the best premiums, the best everything you can get in this area. And it's still horrifically expensive. And so they could fully take $10,000 more out of my paycheck in taxes. And I still come out way ahead because I'm not having to pay my deductibles and all the other costs associated with my healthcare. Like
Right.
if they presented it that way, it's just simple math. And then for the small business owners, same thing. If they're paying in taxes slightly more, but they aren't having to pay the additional cost for employee health coverage, they would save so much money.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, my taxes will go up 4%." Yeah, but how much is your copay?
Exactly.
Well,
I'm paying way more than
$350.
4%. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that percentage of your pay? Well, 12.
Yeah.
Well, then why don't we do it? Oh, no, I can't.
Let's
Yeah.
do the math. Let's do the math.
No, I'm scared of math. That's one of the sciences.
Well, and that's one of the things too. This is, one more. I know we're like running late, but one more thing that the Dems do badly is we need to talk about small business because Republicans, that's like their shit. Like, we're here for the small business. They're absolutely not. But if Dems use that messaging and said, hey, what's good for small businesses? Saving money on health insurance so that they can hire more employees, so that they can grow and expand their business. What's better for your employees when they have health insurance and they have more money in their pocket? What would stimulate the economy? If I didn't have to pay $15,000 a year just to cover my deductibles. That would be great for the economy. Even if I had to pay 10 and I have $5,000, if everybody had $5,000 that then I can use to buy a car or take a trip or spend, that is going to stimulate the economy. But we never talk about it that way. I don't know why. It would be such effective messaging, but we never do it. Elizabeth Warren tries to, but
yeah, but she fucked it all up because she had an awkward beer with America when she was announcing her exploratory campaign. So, as we close, because I know Lindsay's later than I am. So stick with us. We will raid another channel here in about 5 minutes. So if you're on Twitch, stick with us through the raid. And if you leave after the raid, that's fine. But say hi when we go into wherever we go into. That's part of how Twitch works. If for those of you who don't know, supporting other streamers, and then hopefully we'll get that support back from other streamers at some point in time. And maybe not from that exact streamer, but we're going to pay it forward. So we will raid someone else here in a sec. I don't know who, but it'll be in a few minutes. So stick with us I don't know who y'all are. Last time I was here was like 2 months ago, and it was some Hispanic chick and a black dude hosting. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up, Reed Stars. Yeah, so Dig on America is not your typical stream. Think of us as a TYT type of thing, because except without the viewers. There are 7 of us here, and I'll tell you who we are. There's me, there's Lindsay, as you see here. We do Friday night stream. I also do a Wednesday night stream with Mikey Famine, Big Haas, and attorney Anna. So that's the 4 of us are on Wednesday. Anna has a show that's going to be starting at the beginning of the year where it's going to be just her. Then we have Kim and Dino who do a stream on Thursday. And then on Sunday, we have Lauren Hubbard and Brett Henrick, who are both former Democratic candidates for Congress, who they do a stream on Sundays. And they just stopped interviewing candidates. We've been interviewing progressive candidates for like 7 or 8 months. On Sundays, we do, for example, they've interviewed Chris Jones, who ran for governor in Arkansas, Natalie James, who ran for Senate in Arkansas. They interviewed Amani Badhasso, Melanie Diorigo, Marissa Wood. I can't, dozens more candidates. I think it was 42 different candidates, Democrats running for office. We are going to stop doing that now, obviously, because the elections are over, and we'll pick that up again in about 9 or 10 months as we start to focus on 2024. We do a ton of candidate interviews on this show.
Yeah.
So it's really just like a bunch of people coming together to just try to have some fun, build something together. And it's not like a normal Twitch channel where it's like one person talking to you about something. That's not what we are. So you will see different people on this stream. There might be times where I'm not here and it's Lindsay and somebody else, or vice versa. And because she's, we all have families. And that's one thing that I will say about Dig on America, that we're basically what I call a decentralized organization, because there's no boss here. So our families always come first. So you know, if somebody's got a family issue, then, you know, that's fine. But we also have a lot of friends who are on their podcasts and other big channels. Like we've had a lot of people from TYT, the Young Turks, on this station, believe it or not. Jessica Burbank has been on our show. Ravana has been on our show like 4 times. Ben, they have been on our show a couple times. Jackson White's been on our show. You know, so like and you may know if you watch the Young Turks, you've seen these people before. You know, they're all friends of our show. So like they come over here and we just kind of do our thing. So yeah, we had Jessica Burbank on maybe a month and a half ago when we were talking about the CIA. All of our old shows are on YouTube. So you can go to youtube.com/dig on America, or you can just Google Dig on America, YouTube,
Dig on America.
and it'll pop up. So we're small. We've been doing this for about a year. We used to be an audio only podcast. So our podcast is on like all the podcast streams. Like we've been doing our audio podcast does really fucking good. This does not do as good, but it will. So like we're just building this up. So, but yeah, so that's who we are. Thank you for asking. I super appreciate that. And Lindsay's she's like our newest person that we suckered into coming over.
You guys tricked me.
Like I mentioned before, she came begging, saying my Twitch channel.
my TikTok's not working out great.
Right. So so we will rate, but before we go, I just want to show you guys one last thing.
The new ASMR star.
Yeah. And then we'll end with Lindsay's ASMR moment. So we're going back to Truth Social. Okay. Hooray for Truth Social. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Like every follower we can get, we need it. It's been a slow growth thing, but you would think that when you have as great people as we have, people would listen more. And I'm going to say this real quick. I am the weakest link here. I am surrounded on this show. Like if you watch the Wednesday show and you check out Attorney Anna, that is one of the most amazing, talented women you will ever come across. And like, she's just astonishing. Haas, me and Mikey, we're lunatic idiots. Well, Haas, actually, Mikey is a fucking certified genius. But you know, like we have great people on here. Kimberly K does our Thursday stream. It's been off for a few weeks because she's had some health issues. But like she is, she has like Twitter Spaces that she'll do where she has like 2,000 people in there. But for some reason, the people won't come over to Twitch, which I don't get. But anyway, so I have great people around me, and I really, really love what we're building here. And Lindsay, thank you for being a part of it because you didn't have to do this.
Oh, yeah, no, I love being on here. This is fun. It's a fun way to spend Friday night.
It is. I mean, 20 years, well, not for you 20 years ago, but for me, you know, who would have thought in our college days that we would have said, yeah, I love sitting in front of a computer, talking to some random person. When we were in those days going to the bar.
That's what grown-ups do.
Exactly. So Truth Social, this is Donald Trump's stream. Okay. So this is down, and I'm just going to show you, I already read earlier what his rant, right? So Donald Trump is throwing a fucking temper tantrum. And it's so delicious. But let me show you what he was tweeting today as we go out. Or truthing, I should say. So this person, Yale PhD, Donald Trump, he's like, oh, he always looks sharp. Presentation pristine. Oh, this is a rhyme. Oh, it's a haiku. Let's read it. Donald J. Trump, he must be a machine. Always looks sharp. Presentation pristine.
Oh, God.
When he's giving us truth, it won't always be clean, but he's got a way with words if you know what I mean. I'm rapping now, baby.
No,
he loves our country, and it clearly shows. A true patriot from his hair to his toes.
The toes again.
He has
our subliminal
respect, but our love for him grows, and that we're still catching up with what he already knows. His energy is contagious. Trump rallies are the best. WWG1WA and to oh my God bless. Holy shit, that was not dope at all. Actually, it was well written. The rhymes were on point.
I mean,
the
it
content
rhymes.
was ludicrous.
It
Yes,
rhymes. I mean, like, so does Dr. Seuss.
Well, he's canceled though now. So
well, I mean, he cheated on his cancer wife. So, like, yeah.
We canceled Dr. Seuss. But so he's tweeting all this stuff or truthing all this stuff. So sad to see Republicans attack and foolishly tarnish the results of the midterms. We won. Nancy got fired and is on her way to foreign lands.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
He was also ripping on, I don't know if I'll see this one when I scroll up, but he was ripping on the governor of Virginia, Youngkin or whatever the fuck you say his name.
Yeah.
And he calls him Youngkin, right? Bruce Youngkin is his name. He
Mhm.
calls him Youngkin, and he puts out this truth about Youngkin, and he separates young from kin, and then he says, like, interesting, huh? Kind of sounds Chinese.
Oh my God.
What a fucking racist fuck. Anyway, so very strange things are happening. Okay, we don't care about that. But then he starts posting third world, all this stuff. Look at this. I know that you can, I know I don't, it's hard to see the whole screen, but he starts posting stuff that just random people, these memes that random people put on Truth Social, that are just like celebrating him, and he's retruthing all this stuff
because a lot of the Republicans are like, he's toxic.
Yeah, they're getting behind it. I'm telling you, DeSantis is going to fuck him up.
Oh,
But
yeah. Oh, and I'm so excited to watch it.
Look at that. Like, Trump was right about everything. That's stolen from Hillary,
Lord
was right about
Jesus.
everything. Look at this one. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia holding a Trump 24 sign, flicking off Biden. That's the message you want to give out?
I know he's not thinking it through. I mean, he really like saw my crazy uncle's post and was like, that's legit.
But look how his ego is so damaged. He spent hours just retruthing people who were posting nice stuff about him because he wanted to feel good. And then this one. Lindsay, would you be so kind as to read this?
Sure.
I want your live reaction to this fucking thing.
Oh, good. Okay. Trump masterfully started this fake fight with DeSantis to reveal the deep state rhino scum and their puppets. Brilliant move. Now we see who is truly for the people and who is for the DC swamp. Trump 2024, MAGA.
Really?
He knows DeSantis is the new one, and he's so like he can feel the power slipping away.
So
And
this guy's trying to run
like
cover for. He's running cover for Trump. He's saying, "Oh, no, Trump, no, this is all fake fight. It's a fake fight. It's not real." DeSantis is really under the thumb.
Well, because he needs to say that to still like maintain his power and like that he is running the show. The illusion
And
of
he
that.
just retruthed it, retweeted it, whatever you want to call it, because the guy's lost. Like, this is going to be so delicious over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I told you I'm not going to be hungry for days because this conservative Schadenfreude, it just I'm full. So
next week we will be covering his speech.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
It's going to be so
good.
Lindsay, and as we sign off here, please, again, if you're on Twitch, stay with us when the music plays. About 10 seconds after the music plays, we'll raid another show. Lindsay, if you would sign us off. Please.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for coming
Queen
around,
of the
guys.
Toes.
Oh my gosh. No, it's not the toes. It's ASMR. Oh my God, it's different.
ASMR, yes.
ASMR. And it's not like toes. It's just relaxing. Anyway, thanks for tuning
rated
into our
Tofu
show.
Ghost. I rated Tofu Ghost yesterday, but if you know her, I will I rated her literally last night.
I'm safe. Lindsay the Toe Queen. Oh my God, no, that's not the name I want. Oh no, Dutch, you did this. This is on you. Anyway, then if we're doing that, I'm signing out in ASMR. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your support and all the viewers. Make sure you follow us on the raid. Have a good night. You're safe. We appreciate your perspectives. Shh. Shh. Thank you so much. Tune in with us next week, but don't forget to raid.
You should read your Bible, sirs. You'll find all types of weird shit in there.
Hey, want to have a rousing discussion about truth, honor, patriotism?
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible. Quiet. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
You ever been mindfucked before?